Chapter 23-25. Yang Hongwu waved his hand, and a scarlet flame appeared. This scarlet flame was the red lotus of karmic fire. Such a flame was very deadly to this kind of skeleton. This was because these guys did not have real flesh and blood. Moreover, they had enough karma. Even if this skeleton had some good intentions and was not a particularly evil person, this was already enough to kill it. Yang Hongwu waved his hand, and a scarlet flame appeared. This scarlet flame was the red lotus of karmic fire. The moment the terrifying karmic fire appeared, it turned into a fire lotus and flew towards the skeleton. The power that this skeleton possessed was evil. When it sensed the terror of the karmic fire, it immediately regretted its actions. Although he wanted to obtain Yang Hongwu's flesh and blood to improve himself, he did not want to die. This kind of flame was fatal to him. It was enough to make him disappear completely. He did not want to die again. He did not want to disappear completely. Therefore, the moment the karmic fire appeared, he frantically escaped. He wanted to drill into the ground. However, all of this was futile. How could Yang Hongwu let him do as he wished? If this guy was tactful in the past, Yang Hongwu might have let him live. However, he had already given him a chance. Therefore, he would not give him another chance. He would not let him go. Therefore, this guy would definitely die. Spare me, spare me. At this moment, the skeleton spirit had nowhere to run. It was engulfed by the terrifying karmic fire of the red lotus. In an instant, the skeleton spirit was turned into a flaming skeleton. However, the flames were not his own flames, but the karmic fire of the red lotus. The karmic fire of the red lotus was much stronger than his own flames. It was burning his flesh and soul, trying to destroy him completely. If this continued, he would not be able to resist at all. In truth, with his own strength, it was still possible for him to resist the flames. However, he had never imagined that there would be formations and restrictions set up in this place, preventing him from unleashing his full strength. That was why the karmic fire was able to cause such enormous and terrifying damage to him. What was worse was that the space had been sealed. He was trapped in a narrow space. This was the power of the array, the power of the spatial array. Helpless, extremely helpless. He could only beg for mercy. Mercy? Impossible. I gave you a chance to live, but you did not cherish it. Therefore, you deserve to die. Yang Hongwu said, just a small skeleton. How dare you try to harm us? You deserve to die. At this moment, Zi Xintong said coldly, this skeleton doesn't seem simple. It must have been left behind after the fall of some almighty, right? At this moment, Lu Yu said, under the burning of the karmic fire, the skeleton's spirit began to change. His consciousness and spirit consciousness were being refined bit by bit. Now, most of it had been refined. After a period of time, this guy would be completely refined. His true form was beginning to reveal itself. It was indeed a skeleton. However, it didn't seem to be a complete skeleton. This seems to be a finger bone, Zi Xintong said. At this moment, the power of the karmic fire continued to burn. The skeleton's soul and consciousness had been erased, and it had returned to its original appearance. It was only a finger bone, transformed from a finger bone of a great being. It was unknown which great being had slain this finger bone and left it here. After countless years, it had developed its own consciousness. Now, it was encountered by Yang Hongwu and the other two, and it wanted to seize Yang Hongwu's power of flesh and blood to become a real living being. However, it could only blame its bad luck. Yang Hongwu was powerful and had a way to restrain it, so its consciousness was completely erased and it returned to its original appearance. No matter what, this finger bone must be extraordinary. Some of the terrifying beings imprisoned in the prison of all spirits are extremely powerful. I'm afraid there might even be universe overlords among them. This finger bone must have been left behind by a universe overlord, Luo Feng said. Is it true that this finger bone was left behind by a universe overlord? Zi Xintong said. That doesn't seem right, Lu Yu said. For a universe overlord, unless he was killed, how could his finger bone be left behind? Lu Yu gave it some thought. This matter was not so simple. Even for great path knights like them, It was impossible for them to lose a part of their body, let alone a great being at the level of a universe overlord. Unless it was killed and sealed by a powerful being, it was impossible for them to lose a part of their body. Otherwise, it was completely killed. If it was killed, how could the person who killed it tolerate its existence? He would certainly refine it or erase it. Otherwise, a great being at that level could regenerate even a little bit of flesh and blood, let alone a finger bone. This is also a problem. Perhaps this finger bone was deliberately left behind, or perhaps that great being has already left the prison of all spirits and cut off his finger to survive. Yang Hanwu said, in order to leave this place, he gave up a finger bone. This is also possible. That should be the case. I can't think of any other possibilities. Liu Yu nodded in agreement. He had to admit that Yang Hongwu's theory was the most likely one. Is that so? This finger bone could be refined into a good treasure, Zi Xintong said. That's right. No, I feel that there's something strange about this finger bone, Yang Hongwu said with a frown as he held the finger bone in his hand. Originally, Yang Hongwu guessed that this finger bone was left behind by a great being who had cut off his finger in order to seek freedom and leave the prison of all spirits. However, it seemed that things were not so simple. There was something special on this finger bone. Some special runes and restrictions were engraved on it. These runes and restrictions could not be broken by ordinary people. They could not even be seen. This finger bone was indeed sealed. There's a seal on the finger bone. I'm going to open the seal and see exactly what's hidden within the finger bone. Yang Hongwu said, Seal? This? Why can't I see any seals on it? What kind of restriction runes are there? Zi Xintong had seen it before and did not see anything. She was a little puzzled. However, she knew that since Yang Hongwu said so, it must be so. It cannot be false. Could it be that this was deliberately left behind by a supreme master, an overlord of the universe? Liu Yu said, maybe there is some very important information in it. Maybe it is related to the prison of all spirits? I hope so. The key to leaving this place is in this space. However, it is not easy to find some clues. I have a hunch that this finger bone is the key, Yang Hongwu said and took out the restriction-breaking pill again. Yang Hongwu did not have many restriction-breaking pills left. However, it was not easy to refine them in this space. It seemed that some of his methods were restricted. For example, refining pills was one of them. If you want to talk about the technique of the Nine Heavens Divine Dragon with more like-minded people, follow excellent reading literature on WeChat. Talk about life and find confidence. Chapter 23-26. I'll remember it in 1 second. Wonderful, no pop-up window, free reading. Open for me. As Yang Hongwu's hands continued to form seals, a mysterious power landed on the finger bone. The seal on the finger bone was opened, forming a space. This space erupted with power. A burst of energy burst out and instantly sucked Yang Hongwu and the other two inside. Yang Hongwu wanted to resist, but he simply couldn't resist the power of this space. All he could do was allow this power to suck them into the space. What a terrifying power. I can't resist it at all. Yang Hongwu was extremely vigilant. He used his greatest strength to protect himself, Liu Yu, and Zi Xintong. The space within this finger bone had given him too many surprises. He hadn't expected it to be this powerful. He didn't expect that he couldn't resist such a powerful suction force. He was directly sucked into the space. What was worse was that the space of the finger bone seemed to have its own consciousness. It sucked him and the two women inside. Logically speaking, the two women were so far away from him. They also had his own formation as a barrier, but they still couldn't resist the suction force. It was obvious that the space of the finger bone wasn't that simple. You're finally here. After entering the space, Yang Hongwu and the other two heard a voice. This voice was very gentle and kind. It made people feel like they were bathing in the spring breeze. Who is it? Zi Xintong and Liu Yu were very nervous. They had already assumed an attacking posture. If the other party dared to attack, they would immediately counterattack. Yang Hongwu stood in front of the two women and said, "Don't worry. The other party doesn't have killing intent." Yang Hongwu's perception was very strong. This person didn't have any killing intent. He could clearly feel it. Moreover, Yang Hongwu felt a sense of closeness with this person. He didn't know where this person came from, and why would he be like this? Was he deliberately doing this in the space of the finger bone? Or was it because someone sealed it? All of this was a mystery. Moreover, this person seemed to only have an incomplete consciousness. Or it could be said that this was just a memory. Maybe this was just a projection. No matter what, let's see what this guy wants to say. Senior, are you waiting for me? I don't know if you could solve my doubts. Why are you waiting for me? Where's this place? What is the existence of the space in this finger bone? Who does this finger bone belong to? Yang Hongwu asked the question that had been bothering him for a long time. This place, this finger bone is left behind by me. This space is also left behind by me. I was waiting for your arrival. The figure appeared in front of Yang Hongwu and the other two. He looked very elegant, but he didn't lose his dignity. Senior, who are you? Why did you wait for me to come? Senior and I don't know each other, and we don't have any relationship, right? Yang Hongwu looked at the person in front of him. This person had actually left behind a finger bone, waiting for him to come. This was a little strange. It was a little strange, and it made people very puzzled. He was only waiting for one person, so why did he need to leave a finger bone behind? Why couldn't he leave the other things? Any random item left behind would be enough to contain this remnant of his will. Therefore, Yang Hongwu wouldn't completely believe the words of this person in front of him. After all, it might not be true. Moreover, this was a very special time. However, this guy was too mysterious. His strength couldn't be underestimated. If he was really an enemy, Yang Hongwu didn't have enough confidence to deal with this guy. Even though that fellow seemed to be nothing more than a thought, or even a special image, Chu Feng was still able to sense it. Haven't you noticed that your bloodline and mine are so close? He smiled and said, I came from the same place as you. This is the connection between us. As for why I left a finger bone and not others, it's because bloodline is the key to opening this space. Back then, I was also trapped in this space. It wasn't easy to leave here. I used this finger bone to replace me when I was trapped here. That's why I was able to leave the prison of all spirits. In this finger bone, I left some things, some inheritance, waiting for the arrival of the fated person. The so-called fated person is the one who shares my bloodline. If the fated person doesn't have the bloodline connection, he or she can't open the space of this finger bone. After a pause, he said, I forgot to tell you that my name is Feng Xiaoru. Yang Hongwu and Lu Yu were slightly shocked when they heard the name. Feng Xiaoru, of course, they were very familiar with this name. On Earth, he was a famous historical figure. It could be said that he was a figure of the Ming dynasty. Feng Xiaoru is from the Great Ming dynasty? Yang Hongwu narrowed his eyes and said, The Great Ming dynasty. It's a familiar yet strange name. After so many years, I almost forgot it. Feng Xiaoru sighed with emotion. Senior, you're also from Huaxia. I wonder how strong you are. Why were you trapped here in the first place? Yang Hongwu was a little surprised when he heard that this guy was called Feng Xiaoru from Earth, the Ming dynasty, but he wouldn't believe him because of this. If he were to completely believe this guy, who knew if this guy really came from Earth? Moreover, even if this guy was really Feng Xiaoru, what did it have to do with him? They just came from the same place. There was some connection between the bloodline power, but it was just a little connection. It couldn't be said how close their relationship was. For cultivators, the closeness of bloodline didn't mean anything. There were too many cases of close bloodlines killing each other for benefits, for cultivation, and for treasures. Therefore, this was nothing at all. Yang Hongwu was curious about what this guy wanted to do. What did he want to leave behind for him? He used the substitution technique to leave this prison of all spirits. This was a good method, but there was also a prerequisite. He had to be able to open this prison of all spirits. Even if this prison of all spirits was incomplete now, its power was still comparable. It was terrifying and quite powerful. Furthermore, what Yang Hongwu wanted the most was not to sever his fingers to survive. Instead, he wanted to maximize his benefits. Not only did he want to leave this place, but he also wanted to gain complete control over it. He wanted to completely refine this prison of all spirits so that he could use it. My strength at that time? I was much stronger than you are now. I was already an invincible overlord at that time, but I was still trapped in this prison of all spirits. This prison of all spirits is too terrifying. If the person who controlled this prison of all spirits wasn't weak, I wouldn't have a chance to survive. However, that person paid a heavy price because he was too arrogant. It was because of this that I was able to escape by cutting off my finger to survive. Chapter 23-27. I'll remember it in 1 second. Wonderful, no pop-up window, free reading. The level of an invincible overlord was indeed very powerful. However, Yang Hongwu was still skeptical about this. If the other party was really so powerful and had the all-spirits prison, even an invincible overlord would not be able to break the all-spirits prison. Would he be able to leave because of the restraints? How could it be so easy to be schemed against when one's cultivation had reached such a level? Under normal circumstances, it was absolutely impossible for one to be careless when facing a strong enemy. After all, when one's cultivation had reached such a level, even a small mistake could lead to a fatal crisis. Therefore, it was impossible for one to be careless, let alone one who had reached the level of a universe overlord. Even a Tao master would not be so careless. Powerful cultivators were all very cunning and cautious, unless the opponent's strength was too weak. If the opponent was weak to a certain extent, one would have absolute confidence in dealing with the opponent. In that case, it was possible to be careless and make the right choice. Only then would there be an opportunity to take advantage of. However, this kind of situation was too small. To be able to conceal one's cultivation level so easily and restrain it to the point where it was absolutely at the level of returning to one's original self. At such a level, how could one put down his pride to scheme against others? People at such a level would absolutely disdain to do such a thing. Of course, if one had a powerful true treasure in hand, it would give one an incomparable feeling of power. This was an illusion that one had not completely controlled the treasure in hand and one's own strength. This was also possible. Therefore, what Feng Xiaoru said was partly true and partly false, making it difficult to grasp. Of course, Yang Hongwu was not a fool. Even if what Feng Xiaoru said was very likely to be true, Yang Hongwu would not easily believe it. Senior, you're right. The all-spirits prison is indeed very terrifying. I've tried many ways, but I still can't find a way to leave the all-spirits prison. Senior, you were able to escape from here by cutting off your fingers. That's really admirable. This is also because of your extraordinary strength. I'm afraid ordinary people can't do it. Therefore, I'm very envious of your strength, Yang Hongwu said. Little fellow, why are you envious of me? Your talent is much better than mine. Do you know that you're the one who really makes people envious? In this void, I'm afraid that no one has a better foundation than you. But you're the one who's really envied. Therefore, as long as you don't court death, you can definitely grow into a void overlord, or even surpass a void overlord. It won't be too difficult. Feng Xiaoru was really jealous when he said this. Yang Hongwu didn't have that much confidence in becoming an existence that surpassed the void overlord. In fact, Yang Hongwu didn't want to become an existence that surpassed the void overlord. To him, as long as his strength increased, it would be enough. That would be enough. That way, he wouldn't have to worry all the time about encountering powerful enemies or being targeted and schemed against. He just wanted to spend the rest of his days peacefully with his woman. That was enough. Senior, you must be joking. With my current cultivation, I'm not even a great Tao master. How can I dream of becoming a void overlord? I can't even compete with a universe overlord. If I face a void overlord, I'm afraid I don't even have the courage to fight. To me, becoming an invincible overlord is already an extravagant wish. How would I dare to think about becoming an existence that surpasses the overlord of the void? Yang Hongwu shook his head with a wry smile on his face. Little fellow, you can't say that. A soldier who doesn't want to be a general isn't a good soldier. If you don't even want to be a general, how can you achieve anything? Upon hearing Yang Hongwu's words, Feng Xiaoru shook his head and said, "You can't have such thoughts. You're completely wasting your talent. Do you know that? Moreover, you're destined to be extraordinary. If you don't even want to become a void overlord, then you're doomed. You won't have a good ending." Feng Xiaoru said, "In the future, the people who will make a move against you will not be weak. It's normal for them to be invincible overlords. There will definitely be void overlords. Therefore, if you can't become a void overlord, you will die miserably. I can guarantee that. I can tell you this clearly." Yang Hongwu frowned. His future enemies were very powerful. Yang Hongwu was very clear about this. However, he didn't expect Feng Xiaoru to be so sure. Moreover, according to what he said, his enemies were still void overlords. An expert at the level of a void overlord. This was rather shocking. To Yang Hongwu, this was like an earth-shattering thunderclap that he found hard to accept. "Senior, are you kidding me? Yang Hongwu isn't even a great down master now. He's just a half-step down master. How can he provoke such a powerful existence?" Liu Yu hurriedly said. If the enemy was really that powerful and terrifying, how could they deal with it? With their current strength, they wouldn't be a match for a void overlord. In the eyes of a void overlord, their current cultivation was nothing. They were like ants that could be easily killed. "That's right, Senior. What you said is too ridiculous. With our current cultivation, how can we have an enemy at the void overlord level? It's like an elephant and an ant. How can an elephant notice a small ant? Therefore, it's not realistic at all. It's impossible," Zi Xintong said. "You don't understand. When your cultivation reaches that level, you can see the past and the future. In the future that I see, you will all become powerful existences. This is your potential. However, the future is not predetermined. The future is changeable. How to change it depends on you." Feng Xiaoru said, "However, there's one thing that I can tell you for sure. If you can't grow strong enough, you will face a very cruel challenge. It's a matter of life and death. It's all up to you now." Feng Xiaoru looked at Yang Hongwu, as if waiting for him to make a choice. "Yang Hongwu, since you've entered my space this time, it proves that you're the fated person that I've been waiting for. Therefore, even if you don't have enough ambition, I'll still give you the thing that I left for you," Feng Xiaoru said as he raised his hand. A jade seal appeared in his hand. This jade seal was suffused with golden light. This light was filled with supreme majesty. This was the dragon prestige. Yang Hongwu could clearly feel it. This was also why Yang Hongwu felt that there was something attracting and summoning him. It was because of the existence of this jade seal. "What is this? What a strong dragon prestige. It seems to be very important to me," Yang Hongwu said. "This is a fragment of the Void Dragon Gate. You obtained the Yin Huang 9 Dragon Seal, which is a part of the Void Dragon Gate. This is also a fragment of the Void Dragon Gate. This is the Imperial Jade Seal, condensed with the Dragon Qi of China. In fact, it has another name, which is the Kongtong Seal," Feng Xiaoru said. Chapter 23-28. The Ultimate Treasure of Huaxia, the Kongtong Seal. Yang Hongwu narrowed his eyes. If it was the Kongtong Seal, then it would be very powerful. Of course, it would have to be the real Kongtong Seal of the Yin Huang Great Cosmos, the real universe, and not the Kongtong Seal of the Yin Huang Great Cosmos or the primitive world that had been established by various great experts. Yang Hongwu already understood this point. If it was a world that had been established by someone else, then it would be completely different. It would not be as powerful. Therefore, if this Kongtong Seal was the Kongtong Seal of his own world, then it would indeed be of great help to him. There was no doubt about this. Moreover, if it was really a fragment of the Void Dragon Gate, then there was no doubt about its importance to him. The Void Dragon Gate was a very powerful void treasure that was very important to him. Just like his life seal, it was very, very important and indispensable to him. At this time, Yang Hongwu understood this principle. The Void Dragon Gate would be of great help to him. Without the Void Dragon Gate, he might not be able to raise his cultivation base to the point where he could contend with his powerful enemies before they arrived. Therefore, Yang Hongwu was determined to get the Void Dragon Gate. If anyone dared to stop him from obtaining the Void Dragon Gate, then the other party would be his enemy. Moreover, it would be an enemy that would not rest until one of them was dead. Yang Hongwu understood his current situation very well. He did not have much time now. He had to raise his cultivation base in the shortest time possible. There were not many ways to raise his cultivation base in the shortest time possible. One was to use supreme treasures, such as void treasures. This was the most direct and effective way to raise his strength. As for other methods, they were not that simple. For Yang Hongwu, the easiest void treasure to obtain was the life seal. Now, Yang Hongwu had obtained the life seal. However, it was not in its most powerful state. The current life seal was not complete. This was a problem. The second void treasure was the Void Dragon Gate. The Void Dragon Gate was an extremely powerful void treasure. Moreover, he had already obtained most of the fragments of the Void Dragon Gate. The other fragments were close at hand. One was the Kongtong Seal, and the other was the Yanhuang Nine Dragon Seal. He had already obtained both. The last fragment was in the depths of the Thousand Dragons' divine domain. It was the key to the Thousand Dragons' imperial city, the core of the Thousand Dragons' divine domain. This seemed to be the most crucial part. As long as he obtained it, he would be able to obtain the complete Void Dragon Gate. This was the second void treasure. The third void treasure was the Boat of the Void. It was a weapon that could travel through the void. Now that the planar boat had merged with the remnant spirit of the void-piercing spirit, it had begun to evolve. As long as it was given enough time and resources, it could evolve into a void boat. The fourth treasure was the Prison of All Spirits. The Prison of All Spirits was an incomparably powerful treasure that could seal and imprison all powerful existences. Now that Yang Hongwu himself was trapped in the Prison of All Spirits, it would be a problem for him to get out of this place. However, Yang Hongwu had found a clue that could allow him to break out of the Prison of All Spirits. As long as he could seize this opportunity, he would be able to obtain this incomplete Prison of All Spirits. Once he obtained this incomplete Prison of All Spirits, he would be able to use it to search for the remaining fragments of the Prison of All Spirits. Of course, what Yang Hongwu wanted the most was not the Prison of All Spirits or the Boat of the Void. It was the 8 great mystical talismans and the 13 divine regions. These two things were what Yang Hongwu wanted the most. In particular, Yang Hongwu had never obtained the 8 great mystical talismans. Even one of the 8 great mystical talismans that he had encountered before did not seem to be the real one. In the past, Yang Hongwu knew that the 8 great mystical talismans were very powerful, but he did not know that they were so terrifying. Now, with the improvement of his cultivation, Yang Hongwu increasingly felt the terror of the 8 great mystical talismans. Now, his cultivation had reached the level of half-step down master, but he still had not seen the real 8 great mystical talismans. Now, in his mind, he could not even condense one of the 8 great mystical talismans. He was a powerful talisman master. If the 8 great mystical talismans were just ordinary treasures as he had thought before, then with his current strength, he could easily imitate them. He could even make them more powerful than the original 8 great mystical talismans. However, Yang Hongwu was shocked to find that he could not condense any of the 8 great mystical talismans in his mind. This was the most terrifying part. It should be known that he could simulate the other void treasures with his mind. However, he could not condense any of the 8 great mystical talismans. What was even more terrifying was the Creation Heavenly Gate. According to the legend, the Creation Heavenly Gate was the place where the 8 great mystical talismans came from. Therefore, what were the treasures that Yang Hongwu wanted the most? Of course, it was the 8 great mystical talismans and the Creation Heavenly Gate. If he could obtain them, his strength would definitely reach an incredible level. But now, with the improvement of his cultivation, there was no more information about the 8 great mystical talismans. He could not even find a trace of them. Therefore, he could only take a step back and look for other void treasures first. The Void Dragon Gate was one of them. He had already obtained the 9 Underworlds door, which was one of the fragments of the Void Dragon Gate. He had also obtained the Yin Huang 9 Dragon Seal. If the Kongtong Seal was real, then he was only missing the part sealed under the Thousand Dragons Imperial City in the Thousand Dragons Divine Domain. Yes, this is the Kong Tong seal. As he spoke, the Kong Tong seal in Feng Xiaoru's hand flew out. Yang Hongwu reached out and caught the Kong Tong seal. He immediately felt the joy of the Kong Tong seal. It turned into a ray of golden light and merged into Yang Hongwu's body. Seeing this, Zi Xintong and Lu Yu were shocked and worried. Even Yang Hongwu himself had not expected this. He frowned and wanted to stop it, but it was too late. If this was Feng Xiaoru's plan, then he was really unlucky. As expected of the most outstanding genius I have ever seen, you actually gained the recognition of the Kong Tong seal so easily. It seems like you have obtained most of the fragments of the Void Dragon Gate and even gained its recognition. Amazing, really amazing. Chapter 23-29. Fusing with the Void Dragon Gate fragment. Now that you've got it, I'll disappear too. As for my inheritance, I hope it'll be of some help to you. After saying that, Feng Xiaoru turned into specks of starlight and began to dissipate. Then, in the void, an inheritance memory condensed. This inheritance memory flew to Yang Hongwu. Yang Hongwu's brows furrowed slightly as he grabbed the inheritance. Although Yang Hongwu did not really care about the memory, it was still useful to him, especially when he learned how Feng Xiaoru managed to break free from the restraints of the prison of all spirits and escape using the finger-severing technique. After all, this was some rich experience. Moreover, Feng Xiaoru was definitely a character. He was a great Confucian of the Ming dynasty in the land of Yin and Huang. His strength was not that simple. In the history of the Ming dynasty, although Feng Xiaoru could be said to be a tragic figure who was miserably schemed against, in fact, things were not as simple as recorded in history. No matter what, this guy was definitely not a simple character to be able to become an invincible overlord in this part of the void. Of course, this might be his calculation. He might not have good intentions. No one would help others without asking for something in return. There were such people, but they were too rare. Therefore, Yang Hongwu was still wary of Feng Xiaoru. What Feng Xiaoru said was not all true. No one knew whether it was true or false. Feng Xiaoru, I didn't expect him to be Feng Xiaoru. It's really surprising. Lu Yu sighed and said, what's even more unexpected is that he actually has the Kong Tong seal. This is the legendary supreme treasure in the land of Huaxia. It's the symbol of the emperor. I'm also very surprised. But is this Feng Xiaoru really so kind? Yang Hongwu narrowed his eyes and said, if it's not beneficial to him, I'm afraid it's impossible. Perhaps this inheritance memory is part of his plan? Moreover, this Kong Tong seal is a fragment of the Void Dragon Gate. The Void Dragon Gate is an extremely powerful void treasure. Would Feng Xiaoru be willing to give up such a treasure? I don't quite believe it. That's right. No one would be willing to give away such a supreme treasure. The supreme treasure of the void is already a supreme existence. Once one obtains it, one's strength will reach an extremely powerful level. There's a huge gap between the strength of a cultivator who has the supreme treasure of the void and a cultivator who doesn't. A cultivator who has the supreme treasure of the void can easily be killed by his opponent, even if his opponent is at the same level. Therefore, no one would give it away easily. But Feng Xiaoru is willing to give it away so easily? Feng Xiaoru said, I have no doubt. Although Zi Xintong was pleasantly surprised, she was also a little worried. If it were her, she would never be willing to give away such a treasure, let alone to a completely unrelated person. Even if they came from the same place, even if they were from the same hometown, so what? Under such a treasure, it was Lu Yu's xiao. No matter what, we have to leave here first. I need to think of a way to refine this prison of all spirits. It's not good to be trapped here. Yang Hongwu said, our time doesn't allow us to continue like this. We have to think of a way. Now, although the prison of all spirits could not completely trap Yang Hongwu and the others, they could leave here with time. However, for Yang Hongwu, what he lacked most was time. Perhaps you can refine the Kong Tong seal first. There may be some methods in the Kong Tong seal and Feng Xiaoru's memory. Lu Yu said, but it's a little risky. It doesn't matter. Although Feng Xiaoru is powerful, he's just a clone. His real body doesn't exist in this prison of all spirits. Even if he's plotting something, I won't worry. It's only possible that he'll be plotting something after I leave this prison of all spirits. Yang Hongwu said very calmly. That's true, but I'm still a little worried. At this time, Lu Yu slightly frowned and said, What's your worry? Zi Xintong said, What's there to worry about? It's just a mere Feng Xiaoru. That guy is just an incomplete consciousness. This incomplete consciousness projection is no match for us. That's not it. What I'm worried about is the current owner of this prison of all spirits. Do you all think that Feng Xiaoru could be the owner of this prison of all spirits? Lu Yu said, If that's the case, we'll be in big trouble. Hearing this, Zi Xintong sucked in a mouthful of cold air. If that's the case, they'll be in big trouble. It's not impossible. At this moment, Yang Hongwu's brows were tightly knitted. At the beginning, he did not think about this and was somewhat careless. If Feng Xiaoru was really the owner of this prison of all spirits, it would be very difficult to deal with him if he wanted to scheme against them. If it's really as you said, and Feng Xiaoru is the owner of this prison of all spirits, why didn't he do anything at the beginning? Why would he go through so much trouble to scheme against us? At this time, Zi Xintong said, with his strength as an invincible overlord, why would he be so timid? After all, we're still in the prison of all spirits. As the owner, shouldn't he be afraid? It's not that simple. If he took action at the beginning, he might not be able to gain the upper hand. Moreover, Feng Xiaoru's strength is suppressed in this divine domain. He might not be able to display his peak strength. Perhaps he's already injured, so his real body can't display his peak strength. Yang Hongwu said, Stand guard for me. After thinking about it, Yang Hongwu decided to refine this fragment of the Void Dragon Gate. He would fuse the Kong Tong Seal, Yin Huang 9 Dragon Seal, Ancient Dragon Gate, and 9 Underworld's Door into a true Void Dragon Gate. In this way, even if Feng Xiaoru was in the Kong Tong Seal, Yang Hongwu would not be afraid. In terms of the power of the spirit, Yang Hongwu was definitely not afraid. Even if Feng Xiaoru was an invincible overlord, as long as they were in his own space, Yang Hongwu was confident. All right, the two girls nodded. Since Yang Hongwu had made his choice, the two girls trusted him. They believed that Yang Hongwu could definitely do it, and would do it to the best of his ability. Moreover, they had no way out now. Once they retreated, they would fall into a bottomless abyss. If they fell, they would be smashed to pieces. Only by pressing forward with indomitable will there be a way out, a way out. Yang Hongwu sat cross-legged. In his spiritual sea of knowledge, the ancient Dragon Gate, 9 Underworld's Door, Yin Huang 9 Dragon Seal, and the Kong Tong Seal that he had just obtained. These 4 powerful treasures were ready to fuse into the Void Dragon Gate. Once these 4 were fused, they would become the ultimate Void Treasure, the Void Dragon Gate. Although it would not be the complete Void Dragon Gate, it would still be very frightening. Bookhouse Reading Website. Chapter 23:30. When the 4 treasures merged, they emitted a terrifying light that caused the entire prison of all spirits to tremble. Once the 4 treasures merged, their level would surpass that of the prison of all spirits. After all, the prison of all spirits was incomplete. If it had been complete, it might have been able to suppress the incomplete Void Dragon Gate. In fact, the complete Void Dragon Gate might be of a higher level than the prison of all spirits. Therefore, it was impossible for the incomplete prison of all spirits to suppress the Void Dragon Gate. Therefore, when the Void Dragon Gate merged, the prison of all spirits was unable to suppress it. The spiritual energy in the prison of all spirits was crazily sucked away, forming a huge spiritual energy vortex with Yang Hongwu as the center. Seeing this scene, the 2 women outside the array were shocked. They were also very worried. The gathering of spirit chi was too scary and worrying. If this continued, all the spirit chi in the surroundings would gather here. How terrifying would that be? With such a huge amount of spiritual energy, even a real universe overlord would not be able to withstand it, let alone Yang Hongwu, who was only a half-step down master. Of course, the two women would not let go of such a good opportunity. They began to absorb the spiritual energy here and refine it to improve their cultivation. At this time, the speed of cultivation was not enough to describe it. It was thousands of times faster than usual. Even if they did not actively cultivate, the spiritual energy here would be madly integrated into their bodies. In fact, the two women did not know that this was a part of the spiritual energy that Yang Hongwu deliberately left behind. If it were not for Yang Hongwu's control, the two women's spiritual energy would have been sucked away. How could there be any spiritual energy left for them to cultivate and improve their cultivation? Although this part of spiritual energy was not enough for the two women to make a huge breakthrough in their cultivation and reach the level of universe overlords, it was enough to consolidate their cultivation and lay an excellent foundation for them to break through the bottleneck of universe overlords in the future. That was why Yang Hongwu was not stingy with the spiritual energy here. This time, Yang Hongwu was taking a great risk by merging the Void Dragon Gate here. However, he did not expect that the prison of all spirits could not suppress it at this time, which gave him a chance. If nothing went wrong, the prison of all spirits would directly throw him and the Void Dragon Gate out. After all, they were in the prison of all spirits. Madly devouring the power of the prison of all spirits was like sucking the blood out of the prison of all spirits. It was extremely disadvantageous to the prison of all spirits. Regardless of whether the prison of all spirits had a master or not, the prison of all spirits would not allow it. Therefore, Yang Hongwu was a little worried. He was worried that the prison of all spirits would throw him out but trap the two women inside. That would be troublesome. Therefore, when the cultivation of the two girls increased and he regained control, Yang Hongwu immediately transmitted his voice to the two girls, Xintong, relax your minds and enter my common people's great world. Why? At this time, the two women's cultivation had increased, which was a great benefit. When they heard Yang Hongwu's message, they were a little surprised and asked, because the Void Dragon Gate's level is not lower than the prison of all spirits. Moreover, I am madly using the Void Dragon Gate to devour the power of the prison of all spirits. I am afraid that the prison of all spirits will directly throw me out later. Therefore, I have to send you into my inner world first. Otherwise, I am worried that you will be trapped here. At that time, I may not have a way to find you. Yang Hongwu explained. Hearing Yang Hongwu's words, the two women were very surprised. They did not expect such a situation. However, to the two women and Yang Hongwu, this was great news. The benefits were great. This meant that they could easily leave the prison of all spirits. They did not need to worry about being trapped here. Moreover, they could obtain an extremely powerful void treasure. Although it was not in its complete state, it was still very terrifying. All right, then you have to be careful. Lu Yu said, yes, don't worry. I know what to do. Yang Hongwu nodded and sent the two women into his common people's great world. However, for the two girls, their strength was too high. Now that they had reached the pinnacle of the Great Dao Night level, they were half a step away from the universe overlord level. Once they entered his common people's great world, they would not be able to cultivate or improve their cultivation. In this way, their cultivation would be delayed. However, now was a critical time. He had to wait until he was safe before he could release the two girls. In fact, this time, Yang Hongwu did not want to give up the prison of all spirits. Therefore, when the prison of all spirits rejected him, Yang Hongwu was already prepared to deal with the prison of all spirits. Since he had come in, how could it be so easy for him to leave? It was easy to invite the devil in, but difficult to send him away. Since he had come in, he had to gain something, and what he wanted was the prison of all spirits. At this moment, a person in the void frowned. Damn it! How did this boy get so many fragments of the Void Dragon Gate? This person was none other than Feng Xiaoru. Of course, his avatar did not give the Kong Tong seal to Yang Hongwu out of kindness. He had his own calculations. He also wanted to get the Void Dragon Gate, and the prison of all spirits was his treasure. However, the prison of all spirits was not complete. More importantly, he could not really control the prison of all spirits and refine it completely. Moreover, he had enemies who were also very powerful. Otherwise, he would not have hidden the prison of all spirits in the God Domain. The God Domain had a great suppression on others, but it did not have much suppression on those who had the bloodline of the Yin Huang race. As long as their cultivation did not break through to the level of invincible overlord, they would not be suppressed. It was just that they could not unleash their full strength in the God Domain. If other universe overlords entered the God Domain, they would be crazily suppressed by the laws of the God Domain, and they might even be obliterated. However, the people of the Yin Huang race in the God Domain could not unleash their full strength, and they did not need to deliberately suppress their cultivation, so they would not be suppressed by the laws. The God Domain was very powerful. It was a space opened up by a terrifying master, who might have surpassed the overlord of the void. He wanted to cultivate his inheritor and wait for the fated one to come. He also wanted to get the inheritance, but he had failed to get it after many attempts, so he gave up. What he wanted was the Void Dragon Gate. This was why he came up with such a plan. Chapter 23:31. If he could obtain the Void Dragon Gate, he believed that his strength would increase tremendously. After all, those were two supreme treasures of the void. Even if they were incomplete, they were still very terrifying. A person who possessed one supreme treasure of the void was already very powerful. If he could possess two supreme treasures of the void, he would no longer need to be afraid of those guys. However, what he did not expect was that Yang Hongwu actually began to integrate with the Void Dragon Gate at this time. Most importantly, he did not absorb the part of memory inheritance that he had left for Yang Hongwu. Instead, he began to integrate with the Void Dragon Gate directly. In this way, he would not be able to invade Yang Hongwu's sea of consciousness, erode and control Yang Hongwu's soul, and prevent Yang Hongwu from controlling the integrated Void Dragon Gate unless he forcefully seized it. However, supreme treasures of the void level were not so easy to seize. They all had spirituality, and it was very difficult for those who did not gain its recognition to seize them. Furthermore, the supreme treasure of the void could escape directly, or it could erupt with a terrifying power to fight against those who wanted to seize it. For Feng Xiaoru, he was not in his peak condition now. His injuries had not recovered yet. If he was injured by the backlash of the Void Dragon Gate, it would be a great blow to him. This was something that he absolutely did not want to see. His countless schemes had been resolved by Yang Hongwu. This made him very angry, but also very helpless. He could only send Yang Hongwu out of the prison of all spirits. Damn you, little bastard. Feng Xiaoru could see that Yang Hongwu's luck was very powerful and very terrifying. He did not believe in luck very much. He believed that luck was not unique. It did not mean that a person with great luck was destined to become a supreme expert. It did not mean that a person with great luck was destined to be a supreme expert. It did not mean that a person with great luck would definitely be able to defeat his opponent. If it were not for this, he would not have assisted imperial grandson Zhu Yunwan when he was still in the Great Ming Dynasty. However, reality proved that luck was an extremely terrifying thing, difficult to control. This time, he was overconfident. He thought that he could control everything in his prison of 10,000 spirits. Once Yang Hongwu refined the memories he had left behind, he would be able to invade Yang Hongwu's soul and plant a brand in the depths of his soul. This way, when the time was right, he would be able to replace Yang Hongwu. However, all of his schemes did not go as he wished. Instead, it brought him great harm and caused him unexpected losses. The spiritual qi in the prison of all spirits had been devoured by the Void Dragon Gate. If he tried to suppress it forcefully, he would not be able to do so. He might even cause great damage to the prison of all spirits. After all, he was the master of the prison of all spirits. Now, in order to protect himself, he had no choice but to give up the Void Dragon Gate. Even if the Void Dragon Gate was extremely powerful and was a terrifying treasure, he had no choice but to give it up. Thinking of this, Feng Xiaoru's heart was bleeding. Damn you, little bastard. I'll teach you a lesson in the future. Feng Xiaoru cursed. He controlled the prison of all spirits to send Yang Hongwu out of the prison of all spirits. Yang Hongwu, who was in the midst of merging with the Void Dragon Gate and devouring the spiritual qi crazily, felt a strong and overbearing force. A crack appeared in the void. This crack was the spatial door. The overbearing force erupted from this crack, as if it wanted to send Yang Hongwu and the Void Dragon Gate into it. Yang Hongwu had already felt that this spatial crack was a spatial passageway. It was a spatial passageway opened by the prison of all spirits to send Yang Hongwu out. However, how could Yang Hongwu agree? Since he had been sent into the prison of all spirits and had reached such a stage, how could he leave? He had already found clues and discovered the weakness of the prison of all spirits. At this time, he was already in an invincible position. How could he give up? This was an excellent opportunity for him to seize and refine the prison of all spirits. It was impossible for him to miss it. It's impossible for me to leave now. The Void Dragon Gate is suppressing me. Following Yang Hongwu's shout, a golden light erupted from the Void Dragon Gate. The strong suction force from the spatial crack was forcefully interrupted. Damn you, little bastard. Feng Xiaoru sensed the situation and was furious. He didn't expect that Yang Hongwu would refuse to let him leave. Yang Hongwu was trying to seize his prison of 10,000 spirits. He had already sensed some of Yang Hongwu's thoughts. In fact, if he were in Yang Hongwu's shoes, he would not leave so easily at this time because he had already gained the upper hand. However, Feng Xiaoru was not worried. Although the Void Dragon Gate was powerful and domineering, Yang Hongwu's cultivation was still too weak. After all, he was only a half-step down master. Not to mention a universe overlord. He was not even a great down master. With such strength, he could not control a powerful void treasure like the Void Dragon Gate, even if the Void Dragon Gate was not in its peak state and was only an incomplete void treasure. Boy, enough is enough. At this moment, Feng Xiaoru controlled the prison of all spirits to speak. Of course, this was not the voice he had spoken with when he had first met Yang Hongwu. Instead, it was a powerful, majestic voice that was filled with boundless majesty. Enough is enough. Yang Hongwu was not surprised to hear this. This should be the owner of the prison of all spirits. Moreover, this person was probably related to Feng Xiaoru. There was a great possibility that this person was Feng Xiaoru himself. At this time, the owner of the prison of all spirits had said such words, which meant that he had admitted defeat. Yes, the owner of the prison of all spirits had admitted defeat and retreated. However, Yang Hongwu did not want to leave just like this. If he gave up, this was a great opportunity. Perhaps the owner of the prison of all spirits was a universe overlord, or even an invincible overlord, but so what? The prison of all spirits was now in the God domain. Although there were some special existences in the God domain whose strength would not be suppressed, it was absolutely impossible for them to erupt with the power of an invincible overlord. If they dared to use the power of an invincible overlord, they would definitely be restricted by the laws. In the God domain, there were some special existences whose strength would not be suppressed by the laws. However, it was also impossible for them to erupt with power that exceeded the limits of the God domain. This was because once they did so, it would be a devastating blow to the God domain. How could the God domain allow this? Impossible. You let me in. How can I leave so easily? Since I am in the prison of all spirits, it means that I am fated with it. Senior, you should give this prison of all spirits to me. As the saying goes, treasures are given to those who are fated, isn't it? Yang Hongwu said, you want my prison of all spirits. Although Feng Xiaoru had already expected Yang Hongwu to be interested in the all spirits prison, he was still infuriated when he heard Yang Hongwu's words. Yang Hongwu was trying to snatch the all spirits prison. His tone was no different from a bandit. Chapter 23:32. That's right. The prison of all spirits is useful to me. I hope you can give it to me. Yang Hongwu said. Yang Hongwu was determined to get the prison of all spirits. Boy, you're too presumptuous. Do you know that? The prison of all spirits is my foundation. I'm already giving face to that person by letting you leave safely. Don't push your luck. Feng Xiaoru was so angry that the prison of all spirits trembled. If you don't give it to me, I'll have to do it myself. Yang Hongwu said coldly. Bastard, you really don't know your place. At this moment, Feng Xiaoru was trembling with anger. This brat didn't give me any face at all. How dare a mere half-step down master be so arrogant and not give me any face? If I were in my prime and not in the god domain, I would have slapped him to death. Feng Xiaoru thought, boy, you're courting death. Do you know that? Courting death? I'm courting death. What do you do about it? With that, Yang Hongwu controlled the Void Dragon Gate and crazily devoured the power of the prison of all spirits. At this time, the prison of all spirits could no longer suppress Yang Hongwu's Void Dragon Gate. Yang Hongwu had already refined the Dragon Gate and the 9 Underworlds door. He only hadn't completely refined the Yin Huang 9 Dragon Seal and the Kongtong Seal of Huaxia. However, this was not a problem. The Yin Huang 9 Dragon Seal and the Kongtong Seal of Huaxia had automatically recognized him as their master. They just hadn't been fully refined. Yang Hongwu didn't care about Feng Xiaoru's mark in the Kongtong Seal. After the Void Dragon Gate was fully integrated, Yang Hongwu had already sensed Feng Xiaoru's mark. However, Yang Hongwu didn't really do anything to the mark. He didn't erase the mark left by Feng Xiaoru. Yang Hongwu didn't throw away or refine the part of Feng Xiaoru's memory inheritance. This was not to say that Yang Hongwu had no way to deal with it. It was Yang Hongwu's plan. At this time, although Feng Xiaoru was very angry, he could still feel the part of the imprint he had left in the Kongtong Seal. This was also why Feng Xiaoru had not completely exploded and attacked Yang Hongwu. That part of the imprint was his backup plan. However, he knew that once this imprint erupted, it would be enough for him to control the Void Dragon Gate. That was why he did not erupt at this time. He wanted to take things slowly so that he could truly control the Void Dragon Gate. If the imprint were to explode at this time, then all his calculations would be in vain. However, it seemed that the development of the situation was out of his control. The prison of all spirits seemed to be unable to suppress the Void Dragon Gate. Feng Xiaoru had completely refined the Void Dragon Gate and was the true master of the Void Dragon Gate. On the contrary, Feng Xiaoru couldn't truly gain control of the prison of all spirits. He could only mobilize a part of the power of the prison of all spirits. This was also the reason why he couldn't use the prison of all spirits to suppress the Void Dragon Gate, even though his cultivation was higher than Yang Hongwu's. Yang Hongwu had a powerful bloodline of dragons. His level was frighteningly high, and he was very compatible with the Void Dragon Gate. Although his cultivation wasn't high enough, he could perfectly unleash the power of the Void Dragon Gate. This was the truly terrifying part. Suppress, suppress. Feng Xiaoru roared. His powerful spiritual consciousness poured into the prison of all spirits. He wanted to suppress the Void Dragon Gate. As long as he could suppress it for a moment, he could throw the Void Dragon Gate out of the prison of all spirits. However, something unexpected happened once again. At this time, the prison of all spirits actually erupted with a powerful will of resistance, trying to expel him and take back control of it. Damn it, this was a huge blow to Feng Xiaoru. When it rains, it pours. He was simply unlucky. Not only was he forced into such a situation by a mere half-step down master, but his own void treasure also began to resist and wanted to break away from his control. This made Feng Xiaoru extremely depressed. Huh? Yang Hongwu laughed wildly. Feng Xiaoru, although we come from the same place and can be said to be from the same hometown, you wanted to scheme against me. How could it be so simple? Now you've got your retribution, haven't you? I've said that the prison of all spirits is destined to be with me, so it's destined to be with me. It belongs to me. You'd better hand it over obediently. Hearing this, Feng Xiaoru was furious. He He didn't expect that Yang Hongwu knew about his existence and knew that he was scheming against him. "Little bastard, I didn't expect you to see through me." Feng Xiaoru snorted coldly and said, "Since you already know, hand over the Void Dragon Gate obediently. Perhaps I can spare your life on account of the fact that we are from the same hometown. I will give you a chance to live." "You're really arrogant." Yang Hongwu looked at Feng Xiaoru, who had revealed his true appearance in the void. This old man is still acting tough at this time. His skin is really as thick as a city wall. "Spare my life? TSK, TSK. You can't even protect yourself now, but you still dare to be so arrogant. Well, I'll let you see the reality clearly. Who's in control of the other party's life and death? Who's the real master?" After saying that, a strong light appeared in Yang Hongwu's hand. Yang Hongwu's powerful bloodline power erupted. He turned into a giant golden dragon. The Void Dragon Gate also appeared at this time. The golden dragon, transformed by Yang Hongwu, instantly passed through the Void Dragon Gate. The Void Dragon Gate became incomparably majestic and overbearing. The ancient runes began to change. The power of the entire Void Dragon Gate was all added to Yang Hongwu's body. It was an ancient, majestic, and powerful gate. Following Yang Hongwu's dragon roar, the Void Dragon Gate instantly turned into a golden light and flew towards Feng Xiaoru. "Damn it, soul control technique, rise." At this time, Feng Xiaoru raised his hands and quickly formed seals. Mysterious hand seals emerged from Feng Xiaoru's hands and turned into mysterious seals that flew towards the golden dragon transformed by Yang Hongwu and the Void Dragon Gate. However, before they could land on Yang Hongwu, they were blown away by the terrifying power of the Void Dragon Gate and turned into nothingness. "Do you think that I can't get rid of the seals you left in my Void Dragon Gate? No, that's not it. Let me tell you, I left them on purpose." Yang Hongwu knew what Feng Xiaoru was thinking at this time. He smiled faintly and reached out with his hand. A seal appeared in the void. This seal was the one that Feng Xiaoru had left in the Kongtong seal. This seal contained Feng Xiaoru's spirit power and a wisp of his origin source. Feng Xiaoru had paid a great price to condense it. Ordinary people would not be able to discover it, let alone capture it directly. Chapter 23:33. Feng Xiaoru, you're too naive. Do you think I'm a fool? As the saying goes, one who is unaccountably solicitous is hiding evil intentions. Haven't you heard of this old saying? After all, you and I came from the same place. Yang Hongwu chuckled. How could Yang Hongwu not see through Feng Xiaoru's low-level scheme? It had to be said that such a method was too low-level. Of course, some cultivators might overlook this point if they were too excited. After all, it was easy to lose one's cool in the face of such a powerful Void Supreme treasure. However, Yang Hongwu wouldn't. Moreover, even if Yang Hongwu didn't expect this, he wouldn't have any problems. Yang Hongwu's soul force was too strong, and his luck was too terrifying. In addition, the Void Dragon Gate was the most suitable for Yang Hongwu. Although Feng Xiaoru wouldn't be rejected by the 13 divine domains in this special space, his strength would still be suppressed, and his cultivation base hadn't been fully restored. Therefore, Yang Hongwu didn't care at all. Even if Feng Xiaoru's scheme succeeded and Yang Hongwu didn't discover his mark, Yang Hongwu wouldn't be controlled by it. Damn, brat. Do you really think that I don't have a way to deal with you? Feng Xiaoru was really angry. In fact, he still had a trump card. However, once he used it, it wouldn't be worth it. Get out. Feng Xiaoru's eyes emitted a terrifying cold light. At this moment, the All-Spirits prison once again erupted with a terrifying power. This was Feng Xiaoru's trump card. He had already poured his origin energy into the All-Spirits prison in order to send Yang Hongwu and the Void Dragon Gate out completely. In order to achieve this, Feng Xiaoru had paid a huge price and used his origin energy. This was the origin energy of his Void Great Tao. If he didn't succeed, he would lose his origin Great Tao for nothing. Once lost, it would be very difficult to make up for it, even for an invincible overlord. Feng Xiaoru had really thrown caution to the wind. He would send this brat out of the all-spirits prison first. After that, it would be easier to deal with him. The prison of 10,000 spirits was about to be suppressed, but after Feng Xiaoru frantically poured in the power of the great path of the origin universe, the prison of 10,000 spirits started to erupt. It started to contend with Yang Hongwu's Void Dragon Gate, and it seemed to be gaining the upper hand. Get out, get out! You must be dreaming. Under Feng Xiaoru's all-out attack, Yang Hongwu naturally felt great pressure. After all, Feng Xiaoru's cultivation realm was that of an invincible overlord. Even if his strength had not recovered to its peak, it was still very terrifying. After his origin source great Tao of the universe was integrated into the prison of all spirits, the power of the prison of all spirits instantly increased by a lot. Yang Hongwu furrowed his brows. He had to admit that this had caused him a lot of trouble. The light of the Void Dragon Gate behind Yang Hongwu was suppressed, and beads of sweat appeared on his forehead. After all, Yang Hongwu was only a half-step Dao Master. He hadn't even reached the level of a real Dao Master. If it had not been for his special cultivation technique and the fact that he had been recognized by the Void Dragon Gate and completely refined it, he would not have been able to withstand the attacks of the prison of all spirits and Feng Xiaoru. At this moment, the All Spirits prison seemed to have developed an independent consciousness and was devouring Feng Xiaoru's origin to improve itself. This made Feng Xiaoru a little confused. He felt that something was wrong. How could this be? Feng Xiaoru felt that something was wrong and immediately stopped pouring in his origin Great Tao. However, the All Spirits prison didn't seem to want to. It didn't give Feng Xiaoru a chance to stop and continued to devour Feng Xiaoru's origin Great Tao. Damn it! He felt that his connection with the All Spirits prison and his control over the All Spirits prison was getting weaker and weaker. At this time, he was in a dilemma. If he didn't give up the All Spirits prison, more than half of his origin Great Tao would be devoured by the All Spirits prison. In this way, it might cause great damage to his foundation. The damage to the origin of the universe might be irreparable. In this case, it would be a huge problem for him to recover his cultivation, let alone make further progress. However, if he chose to give up at this time, the All Spirits prison would no longer be his, and he would lose a powerful Void Supreme treasure. This was something he didn't want to do, but there was nothing he could do about it. Feng Xiaoru was very regretful. He regretted being so greedy. Why did he provoke and scheme against Yang Hongwu? However, it was too late for regrets. He had to make a choice. Feeling that his origin Great Tao was being devoured, Feng Xiaoru gritted his teeth and chose to cut off his finger to survive. This time it was real. Moreover, it wasn't just his finger that was going to be cut off. He was going to cut off an arm. Although the All Spirits prison wasn't a complete All Spirits prison, it was still a Void Supreme treasure. A very powerful Void Supreme treasure. With such a Void Supreme treasure, his strength and combat strength would increase by several times. Without such a supreme treasure, his strength would drop a lot. There was no doubt about this. But now he was completely out of options. Bastard, you little bastard. When you come out, I'll kill you. Feng Xiaoru glanced at Yang Hongwu and gnashed his teeth. At this time, he hated Yang Hongwu to the core. This hatred was probably much stronger than the so-called hatred of killing one's father or stealing one's wife. Feng Xiaoru decisively cut off the connection between this incarnation and his real body, completely giving up on the All Spirits prison. In the Thousand Dragon Divine Realm, in the cultivation space where Feng Xiaoru's real body was, a trace of blood seeped out of the corner of his mouth. He looked extremely ferocious. The anger and hatred in his eyes were so intense that he seemed a little deranged. At this moment, Yang Hongwu, who was in the All Spirits prison, was a little dumbfounded. What's going on? Feng Xiaoru had disappeared. His aura had completely disappeared from the prison of all spirits. He could clearly sense that the prison of all spirits had become an ownerless object. It was a true ownerless void supreme treasure. Moreover, what surprised Yang Hongwu even more was that after the all spirits prison had completely cut off its connection with Feng Xiaoru, It actually expressed goodwill to Yang Hongwu and took the initiative to recognize Yang Hongwu as its master. This was something that Yang Hongwu had never expected. Chapter 23:34. In fact, the prison of 10,000 spirits had no other choice. Yang Hongwu was in the prison of 10,000 spirits and was unable to suppress the Void Dragon Gate. If it hadn't lost the support of Feng Xiaoru's origin energy, the prison of 10,000 spirits wouldn't have recognized Yang Hongwu as its master. It also wanted freedom and wanted to become stronger. When it had two masters and only one choice, it naturally chose Yang Hongwu. After all, Yang Hongwu's talent and potential were much greater than Feng Xiaoru's. The only downside was that Yang Hongwu had many treasures on him. However, it didn't have a choice now. If it didn't recognize its master, it would be completely devoured by the Void Dragon Gate. Therefore, the prison of 10,000 spirits had only one choice: to recognize its master. There was no other choice. To Yang Hongwu, this was a good thing. Of course, he couldn't give up the prison of 10,000 spirits. After the prison of 10,000 spirits had recognized its master, Yang Hongwu controlled the Void Dragon Gate and stopped devouring the spiritual energy in the prison of 10,000 spirits. At this moment, the Void Dragon Gate was able to contend with the prison of 10,000 spirits. Coupled with his strength, it was enough to suppress the prison of 10,000 spirits. Yang Hongwu opened his eyes. The Void Dragon Gate and the prison of 10,000 spirits entered his body at the same time. After returning to the 1,000 Dragon Divine Domain, Yang Hongwu let the two girls out. "How's the situation?" Zi Xintong looked at Yang Hongwu and asked, "Has the prison of 10,000 spirits been absorbed?" Liu also looked at him. Although the two girls knew that they must be in a safe place at this moment, otherwise, Yang Hongwu wouldn't have let them out. As for the situation, and whether the prison of 10,000 spirits had been absorbed and refined by Yang Hongwu, this was something they were curious about and wanted to know. Yes, the prison of 10,000 spirits has recognized its master and has become my void treasure. Together with the Void Dragon Gate, I now have two powerful void treasures. Yang Hongwu stretched out his hand, and the prison of all spirits appeared in his palm. It looked like a mini pagoda, but it was filled with ancient and mysterious runes. It emitted a powerful aura as if it could devour people at any time. This was very frightening. What a hell of all spirits. Zi Xintong sighed. Were we trapped in here just now? Yes, when you become a universe overlord, you can use the prison of all spirits. Yang Hongwu said, "There's no need for that. The prison of all spirits will only be able to unleash its greatest power in your hands." Liu Yu shook his head and said, "We don't comprehend the space Grand Tao, so it's impossible for us to unleash the full might of the prison of all spirits." That's true. Although I want a void treasure, this prison of all spirits is indeed not suitable for me. It would be a waste to give it to me. Moreover, you only have one prison of all spirits between the two of us. We can't even split it. Zi Xintong chuckled and said, "Okay, I'll make a void treasure for each of you in the future." Yang Hongwu said, "That's not a bad idea." Zi Xintong said with a smile, "Okay, shall we continue to 1,000 Dragons Imperial City now?" Liu Yu asked, "Or shall we wait until you're fully familiar with the prison of all spirits before we go?" Liu Yu knew that at this time, Yang Hongwu had just merged with the Void Dragon Gate and obtained the prison of all spirits. He hadn't fully mastered these two void treasures yet, so he shouldn't be able to unleash the full power of these two void treasures. It would take some time for him to fully master them. Only then would he be able to reduce the consumption. Otherwise, once he used them, the consumption would be enormous. No need. I've already mastered them completely. Yang Hongwu smiled and said, "We can go directly to 1,000 Dragons Imperial City. Besides, we're not far from 1,000 Dragons Imperial City. Plus, I can use the Void Boat to shorten the distance and go directly to the edge of 1,000 Dragons Imperial City." "That's better," Zi Xintong said. "It'll save us a lot of time." Zi Xintong said, "I can't wait any longer." Zi Xintong really couldn't wait any longer. She wanted to fight. After all, she was from the Saint Devil clan, a natural battle maniac. The opponents she had encountered so far were either too weak, or too strong. It made her feel helpless. Yang Hongwu nodded. He knew Zi Xintong's situation. She was now at a critical moment. Fighting was beneficial for her. It wouldn't be good for her to continue like this. In fact, Zi Xintong was already at the stage of accumulating battle experience. She needed to accumulate enough battle experience. This way, it would be easier for her to break through. Void Boat. After Yang Hongwu put away the prison of all spirits and the Void Dragon Gate, he took out the Boat of the Void. This was an incomplete Boat of the Void. It had just started to evolve and was far from reaching the level of a true treasure of the Void. In fact, it was still a Boat of the Plane. However, compared to the Boat of the Plane, it had the space-piercing spirit as a vessel spirit, which made it much stronger than before. After activating the Void Boat, the three of them entered it. Then the Void Boat emitted a strong light and tore open a crack in the void. In the next moment, it disappeared from the spot. After a few breaths, the Void Boat appeared in front of a small city. We're here already? In just a few breaths, Zi Xintong and Lu Yu were shocked. We're here. This is a satellite city of the Thousand Dragons Imperial City. It's only 100 li away from the defensive formation of the Thousand Dragons Imperial City. Yang Hongwu said, "It's really fast. Unbelievable. This is a supreme treasure that can save one's life." Of course, it's the same for chasing after one's life. With such a supreme treasure, who would be able to escape from it? Zi Xintong's idea was different from Lu Yu's. Lu Yu's idea was to protect himself and his life. At the critical moment, he could escape. However, Zi Xintong's idea was to chase after the enemy. Let's go. Yang Hongwu could feel a special force in the Thousand Dragons Imperial City. This special force was the power of the Void Dragon Gate fragment. Moreover, there was a powerful aura that Yang Hongwu was afraid of. However, he wasn't as worried as before because he had already integrated with most of the fragments of the Void Dragon Gate. He also had the All Spirits Prison and the Void Boat. Even if he couldn't defeat the enemy, he wouldn't be afraid. Escaping wouldn't be a problem at all. He wouldn't even need to use his life-saving trump card. Even if some ancient and powerful existences appeared in the void, he would still have the strength to protect himself. This city doesn't seem to be simple. I can feel the aura of the demon race. Zi Xintong was pleasantly surprised. However, the aura isn't strong, but it's very special. It seems to be someone from my Saint Devil clan. Demon race? Someone from your Saint Devil clan? Yang Hongwu was surprised that the Saint Devil clan didn't notice it. It was strange that someone from the Saint Devil clan could hide so well in the Thousand Dragons' divine domain. Chapter 23:35. That's right. If that fellow wasn't a member of my Holy Demon clan, I wouldn't have been able to sense him. Moreover, that fellow should have sensed my presence, which is why he revealed a trace of his aura. Otherwise, I wouldn't have been able to detect him. Zi Xintong said, Saint Devil clan? That guy can't be Zi Tian, right? Yang Hongwu frowned slightly. However, that didn't seem very likely. If it was Zi Tian, why would he be so low-key and conceal his presence? Given Zi Tian's character, the entire Thousand Dragon Divine Domain would have been turned upside down. In fact, Zi Tian had always been trying to conquer the Thousand Dragon Divine Domain. However, the Thousand Dragon Divine Domain was very special. Therefore, he hadn't succeeded. His strength hadn't reached the level where he could ignore the suppression of the entire Thousand Dragon Divine Domain. Therefore, he couldn't invade the Thousand Dragon Divine Domain as he wished. It could be said that the Thousand Dragon Divine Domain was the most difficult to conquer among the 13 divine domains for Zi Tian to conquer. That's not very likely. Given Zi Tian's character, he wouldn't be so low-key. Zi Xintong was very familiar with Zi Tian's character. However, that guy might be Zi Tian's subordinate. No matter what, that guy's purpose in entering the Thousand Dragon Divine Domain has nothing to do with me. What we need to do now is to enter the 1,000-dragon Imperial City and obtain the fragment of the Void Dragon Gate that I need. Yang Hongwu said, "Let's go in and take a look. There seems to be some panic in the city. Something must have happened." Lu Yu said, "Yes, it's not that simple. Let's go in secretly. Follow me." Yang Hongwu opened his mortal eyes and scanned the city. At this moment, the city was heavily guarded. However, it wasn't difficult for Yang Hongwu and the others to enter the city. Yang Hongwu and the two ladies tore open a formation at a corner and entered the city. Although it was a small satellite city, the security was still very tight. Ordinary people wouldn't be able to enter the city without being discovered. Of course, if one's strength had reached a certain level, it wouldn't be difficult for them to enter the city. Moreover, this formation seemed to be connected to the formation of the entire 1,000-dragon Imperial City. If an outsider entered the formation, they would be discovered. If the formation's controller searched, they would be able to find the outsider. However, it was useless for Yang Hongwu. In the city, the passers-by were all in a hurry. Their faces were filled with panic as if something big was about to happen in this satellite city. Zi Xintong looked at these people in a hurry and was somewhat puzzled. The security is tight. The people are restless. I'm afraid something big has happened. Lu Yu frowned. War. I'm afraid only war can make the people so restless. Why are you thinking so much? Why don't you just grab someone and ask him? At this time, Zi Xintong grabbed a person and threw him in front of her. She asked, "Be obedient. Answer whatever I ask. If you don't answer well, I will kill you. Do you understand?" At this time, Zi Xintong's eyes were filled with killing intent. The person nodded repeatedly. His whole body was trembling. He was very nervous. Yang Hongwu and Lu Yu looked at each other. They knew that this was a good idea. There seemed to be a special power in the city that blocked people's spiritual power. Yang Hongwu felt this. If it was in normal times, he could directly use his spiritual power to invade the souls of these people to obtain the information he wanted. However, it seemed that he couldn't do so here. What happened in the city? Why are you all so nervous? Why is the security so tight? Zi Xintong asked. "My lord, don't you know?" The person said with a trembling voice. What about me? If I knew, why would I ask you?" Zi Xintong glared at him. "I said that you will answer whatever I ask." Saying so, Zi Xintong sent out a stream of energy and cut off one of the person's fingers. The person screamed. Then, he covered his mouth and endured the pain. He looked at Zi Xintong with fear and said in a trembling voice, "My lord, it's like this. Our little yellow dragon city received a letter of challenge from the devil race. In 3 days, the devil race will attack here." In 3 days? The devil race will attack here and send a letter of challenge? Hearing this, Yang Hongwu and the others were a little confused. The devil race had entered the 1,000-dragon divine domain and wanted to attack a city. They actually sent a letter of challenge? This was too surprising. Little Yellow Dragon City was just a small satellite city. If the devil race was powerful, they wouldn't even bother to send a letter of challenge. If they were powerful enough, they would directly attack a city. Why would they be so long-winded? Unless there was a powerful existence guarding the city. However, even though there was someone guarding the city, the strength of the person guarding the city wasn't that great. It was only average. He was just a mid-stage Great Tao sovereign cultivator. "Yes, my lord." "Who is the other party? What kind of devil is he?" Zi Xintong asked. That person said that he is the Saint Devil Emperor. When he sent the letter of challenge, he condensed a terrifying devil shadow and appeared in the sky above the city. At that time, the city lord was cultivating and was disturbed by this terrifying devil shadow. The city lord was furious and attacked the devil shadow. However, he couldn't do any harm to the devil shadow. In fact, the city lord was injured. At this point, his eyes were filled with fear. "Where is your city lord?" "Take us to him," Yang Hongwu said. In this city, Yang Hongwu sensed several powerful auras, but he didn't know which one belonged to the city lord. Yang Hongwu had a feeling that this so-called city lord wasn't the real city lord of this city. Perhaps he was just a puppet. This was because Yang Hongwu realized that this city had a powerful force. As the city lord of this city, once he mobilized the power of this city, his strength would increase greatly. Moreover, he could get the support of the power of Thousand Dragon Imperial City. The entire Thousand Dragon Imperial City and the surrounding satellite cities were an extremely powerful array. It could be said that Thousand Dragon Imperial City and the surrounding satellite cities were a complete whole. No matter which satellite city was attacked, it could mobilize the power of the surrounding cities. Therefore, as the city lord of a city, how could he be defeated so easily? Unless the opponent's strength had reached the level of a universe overlord. That was still possible. Yang Hongwu admired the person who set up this Thousand Dragon Imperial City. However, it seemed that Thousand Dragon Imperial City couldn't be controlled by one person. It seemed that even the Emperor of Thousand Dragons himself hadn't fully mastered the array of Thousand Dragon Imperial City. Chapter 23:36. If the Emperor of 1,000 Dragons had such a powerful force, he would definitely be able to unleash the power of a universe overlord or even an invincible overlord in the Thousand Dragons Imperial City. If that was the case, who would dare to enter the Thousand Dragons Imperial City and cause trouble? The Thousand Dragons Imperial City was probably just a satellite city, so no one would dare to provoke them. Of course, if the Emperor of 1,000 Dragons really did make a move, even if he did not have full control of the powerful array formation of the Thousand Dragons Imperial City, the other party would not be able to escape unscathed. As for the person from the demon race, who was it? Yang Hongwu was very curious as well. However, there was one thing that he was absolutely certain of, and that was that the other party was absolutely not Zetian. If it was Zetian, how could he be so careful and attack a mere satellite city? However, it could be Zetian's subordinates. If it was his subordinates, it would not be surprising. After all, Zetian had been trying to take over the Thousand Dragons' divine domain for a long time. Sending some people in was a very normal thing to do, and also the most effective method. Of course, if an ordinary demon race entered the Thousand Dragons' divine domain, they would not be able to achieve much. Only the Saint Demon race would be suppressed in the Thousand Dragons' divine domain, but the suppression would not be too great. Moreover, if the people of the Saint Devil clan weren't evil people and practiced a special cultivation method, they wouldn't be able to tell the difference between them and ordinary people. They could hide like ordinary people and not be discovered by others. Therefore, Yang Hongwu guessed that there was more than one person from the Saint Demon race in this city. If it was not for Zi Xintong, no one would be able to discover their existence. However, if there were people from the Saint Demon race hiding in the mini Yellow Dragon City, why would they send a letter of challenge? That's the City Lord Mansion. At this time, Yang Hongwu and the other two had been led to the City Lord Mansion. At this time, there were several powerful auras in the City Lord Mansion, but one of them was very unique. That person was sitting in the middle, but the aura on his body was just a disguise. The position of the City Lord. That guy is your City Lord? Yang Hongwu asked. Yes, that's our City Lord. Far away, the person captured by Yang Hongwu was very cautious. He was very worried that Yang Hongwu would kill him at this time. Let's go. You letting me go? The man was very surprised. He didn't expect that Yang Hongwu would let him go so easily. He couldn't believe it. His heart was uneasy. He was a bit worried that this was letting him go and then killing him in the back. It was because he had seen too many situations like this. You won't kill me, will you? He said. Scram. I said I won't kill you, so I won't kill you. If you want to die, I can fulfill your wish. Zi Xintong said coldly. Thank you, sir. Thank you for sparing my life. Hearing Zi Xintong's words, he was overjoyed and turned to leave. However, he had only walked a few feet when a person walked in front of him. Those who brought outsiders here are traitors. Traitors must die. This person didn't wait for him to speak. He directly stretched out his hand, gathered magic power, and directly killed him. Young City Lord. Young City Lord is back. This is great. The moment this person arrived, voices rose and fell. In the entire mini Yellow Dragon City, Everyone in the city lore mansion was very happy. It was obvious that this guy had a high prestige in mini Yellow Dragon City. At this moment, a strange glint flashed across the eyes of the person sitting on the city lord's seat. Others didn't notice this strange glint, but Yang Hongwu saw it clearly. "You're from the devil race?" The young city lord came in front of Yang Hongwu's group, staring at Yang Hongwu with eyes full of hostility. "Xiaochuan, it's good that you're back." At this time, one of the three powerful auras came out from the city lord mansion. "Second uncle, these three people are sneaking around. They don't even know about the city lord mansion. They must be spies sent by the devil race," Huang Xiaochuan said. "And don't be rude." Huang Yuan narrowed his eyes, looked at Yang Hongwu's group, and said, "May I know why you three have come to Mini Yellow Dragon City?" Huang Yuan was very powerful, but he was very cautious, unlike Huang Xiaochuan. Huang Xiaochuan was very talented, and his strength was very strong. Now that he was a half-step universe overlord, he could be said to be the most powerful person in Mini Yellow Dragon City. On top of that, his master was Jin Wuwang, the junior brother of the Emperor of Thousand Dragons. Jin Wuwang's strength was considered top-notch in the Thousand Dragons' divine domain. It was rumored that Jin Wuwang had long broken through the shackles of the Thousand Dragons' divine domain and become a universe overlord. However, this was not confirmed. After all, Jin Wuwang had never shown his strength in front of outsiders. In fact, there were many ancient beings in the Thousand Dragon divine domain who had reached the limit of their strength. It was only because of the suppression of the laws that they could not break through. If they wanted to, they could leave the divine domain and summon the void lightning tribulation to give them a chance to break through and become overlords of the universe. Once they survived the thunder punishment, they could become a universe overlord. But if they failed, they would die. Therefore, these ancient beings were not willing to try. They had lost the courage to not fear death. Huang Yuan was one of them. Moreover, Huang Yuan hid his strength very well. He was much stronger than Huang Xiaochuan. If they really fought, Huang Xiaochuan would not be able to take a single blow. In truth, the reason why Huang Yuan was so courteous to Yang Hongwu and the others was because Huang Yuan had the art of seeking fortune and avoiding calamity. Originally, Little Yellow Dragon City was already in a perilous situation, but in reality, this slim chance of survival had become very strong. This was because a benefactor had come to Mini Yellow Dragon City. As long as they could get help from this benefactor, Mini Yellow Dragon City would be able to survive. This time, Yang Hongwu's group's arrival gave Huang Yuan hope. This was because he could not see through Yang Hongwu, even though his cultivation level was not even that of a great Dao Knight, let alone a universe overlord. This time, the enemy that Little Yellow Dragon City was facing might not be a universe overlord, but it could be said that those who were not universe overlords were invincible. Huang Yuan, Huang Tianxiong, and Huang Tianhua were all very strong. But in fact, the demons who came to provoke them were not only strong, but they also had unique techniques. In addition, there were many of them, and it was easy for them to turn people into demons. This made things very troublesome. They were strong enough to escape, but it was different for the people in the Mini Yellow Dragon City. They were weak and couldn't resist them. I heard that Mini Yellow Dragon City is being provoked by demons, so I came to take a look, Yang Hongwu said. Chapter 23:37. Now that you've seen it, you can leave. Huang Xiaochuan looked at Yang Hongwu with vigilance. This brat's cultivation realm was lower than his, but he was able to get two outstanding girls to follow him like this. He was definitely not simple, which made him a little jealous. However, Huang Xiaochuan wasn't a lecherous person. He was a genius and was determined to become a peak expert. He wouldn't be moved by beauty. However, Yang Hongwu gave him a kind of pressure, an inexplicable pressure. This kind of feeling made him feel very uncomfortable. He could see that his uncle was very wary of this brat. Therefore, he didn't want Yang Hongwu to continue staying in the minor Yellow Dragon City. Xiaochuan, don't be rude. Huang Yuan's face sank when he saw Huang Xiaochuan's reaction. Second uncle, Huang Xiaochuan was a little unhappy when he heard his second uncle reprimand him like this, but he was still frightened. He had never seen his second uncle with such a serious expression before, and he was still very respectful towards this second uncle of his, because he knew how powerful his second uncle was. Although his current cultivation realm seemed to be the same as his second uncle's, in reality, he could clearly feel how powerful his second uncle was to him, and how terrifying the pressure he gave him was. He knew very well that his uncle's strength was much stronger than his. Even among the younger generation, he wasn't a top-notch existence. Although he was the disciple of the Thousand Dragons Emperor's junior brother, Jin Wuong, he was only one of his many disciples. He wasn't the most outstanding one. If he was really that outstanding, he wouldn't have been allowed to return to the minor Yellow Dragon City. After Huang Yuan glared at him, Huang Xiaochuan didn't continue to speak. Sorry, he's just a child. Please don't lower yourself to his level, Huang Yuan said to Yang Hongwu with a laugh. Yang Hongwu smiled faintly. He didn't care about this. In front of him, this brat was much stronger than that young city lord. He was extremely shrewd, but what made Yang Hongwu very curious was, did this guy not see any clues? The so-called city lord's body contained a wisp of demonic power. Although this wisp of demonic power was well hidden, it was still exposed before Luo Yunyang's eyes. If it was someone close to him, they should be able to sense it. No matter who it was, if there was a change, it was impossible for those who were close to him to not notice or sense it. This was especially true for those who had reached such a level of cultivation. Once there was even the slightest change, they would be able to clearly notice it. No, we're just curious. After all, the little Yellow Dragon City is supported by the Imperial City of 1,000 Dragons, the Emperor of 1,000 Dragons. Aren't they afraid of the Emperor of 1,000 Dragons' wrath if they provoke the little Yellow Dragon City? Yang Hongwu looked at Huang Yuan and said, Little brother, you don't know about this. Little brother, you must have just entered the 1,000 Dragons' divine domain, right? Huang Yuan said, Now, the entire 13 divine domains are in a state of crisis. The Lord of the Devil region is incomparably powerful and is eyeing the entire 13 divine domains covetously. Our 1,000 Dragons' divine domain is very special and has a great suppressive effect on the devil race. Therefore, it's very difficult for the devil region to make a move on us. But because of this, our 1,000 Dragons' divine domain has become a thorn in the side of the devil region. In fact, the seemingly safe 1,000 Dragons' divine domain has become the devil region's first target. After a pause, Huang Yuan continued, Therefore, our 1,000 Dragons' divine domain has become the focus of the devil region's experts. The key to our 1,000 Dragons' divine domain is the Imperial City of 1,000 Dragons. Although the Emperor of 1,000 Dragons is guarding the Imperial City, it's still dangerous and has attracted the attention of experts from the devil region. Because of this, although our little Yellow Dragon City is a satellite city of the 1,000 Dragons Imperial City, it's also the outermost satellite city of the 1,000 Dragons Imperial City. Naturally, it's a breakthrough point. Is that really the case? Yang Hongwu didn't quite believe it. The devil race had indeed made a move, but it wouldn't be like what Huang Yuan said. Huang Yuan's words were mixed with truth and lies. If one had just entered the world, they might have been deceived by this guy. This guy seemed to be interested in him and wanted him to stay. I have no reason to lie to you, little brother. You and I don't know each other. What I want to say is that the 1,000 Dragons' divine domain is in danger and the devil region is about to attack. Little brother, it's fine if you leave now. But if you stay, you'll be caught in the battle. At that time, it'll be difficult for you to leave. The experts of the devil region aren't that easy to deal with. Huang Yuan said, Thank you for your concern, senior. This time, I came to the 1,000 Dragons' divine domain because of an important matter. I must make a trip to the 1,000 Dragons' Imperial City. Therefore, I won't leave just like that. Yang Hongwu said, Little brother, you're going to the 1,000 Dragons' Imperial City? Huang Yuan asked, What a coincidence. I'm also going to the 1,000 Dragons' Imperial City to handle some matters. How about this? Little brother, you can rest for a day in my little Yellow Dragon City. Tomorrow, We'll go together. We can take care of each other on the way. Moreover, I see that little brother's two wives are tired. They should rest well. Yang Hongwu didn't know what Huang Yuan was thinking. He wanted him to stay, which surprised Yang Hongwu. Dealing with him? That didn't seem possible. Perhaps Huang Yuan had noticed that there was something wrong with the so-called city lord? Did Huang Yuan want him to deal with the city lord or the devil race who sent the letter of challenge? However, it wasn't realistic for Yang Hongwu. Of course, it wasn't impossible for Huang Yuan to stay. Although Yang Hongwu was in a hurry, Yang Hongwu knew nothing about the situation in the Thousand Dragons Imperial City. Although he had the Eyes of Life, there was a limit to how much it could be used in the Thousand Dragons' divine domain. He didn't want to expose the true power of the Eyes of Life. If Huang Yuan could really bring him into the Thousand Dragons Imperial City, it wouldn't hurt to wait here for a day. As for the situation in the Little Yellow Dragon City, Yang Hongwu wasn't afraid of Huang Yuan's schemes. The three of you have come from afar. Your presence brings light to my humble Little Yellow Dragon City. At this moment, Huang Tianhua walked out. Second brother, you're a little rude. Shouldn't you invite the three of you in? That's right. Third brother is right. Look at my memory. I've been too rude. Huang Yuan and Huang Tianhua exchanged glances and said immediately, Second brother, third brother, why aren't you letting the guests in? At this moment, Huang Tianxiong spoke. Before this, Huang Tianxiong's attention had been on Zi Xintong, because he could feel the power of the Saint Devil clan's bloodline within her body. This was definitely the purest bloodline power, and its grade was extremely high. Chapter 23:38. Of course, this so-called Huang Tianxiong was no longer the original Huang Tianxiong of Little Yellow Dragon City. At this moment, this city lord had been corroded by a demon. Although his physical body was still his original physical body, his soul had been replaced. The reason why no one was able to discover it was because he had hidden it too well. Yes, big brother, Huang Tianhua said. It was obvious that Huang Tianxiong held a very high position in their hearts. Although their strength was not weaker than Huang Tianxiong's, the two of them did not dare to refute Huang Tianxiong's words. This was also the reason why the two of them did not discover anything strange about Huang Tianxiong. The two of them, or anyone else, would never have thought that Huang Tianxiong had been possessed by a demon. Let's go. I want to meet the city lord of Little Yellow Dragon City. When Yang Hongwu said this, there was a hint of meaning in his words. When Huang Tianhua and the other two heard Yang Hongwu's words, they were a little displeased. However, Huang Tianhua and Huang Yuan did not say anything. Instead, it was Huang Xiaochuan who said, You bastard, you. What? Do you want to fight? At this moment, Lu Yu snorted coldly and released a terrifying aura. Now, Lu Yu's strength had reached the level of a half-step universe overlord. She was only one step away from becoming a universe overlord. When her aura erupted, it was quite terrifying. Don't be angry. This boy is too young. Don't be calculative with him. At this moment, Huang Yuan hurriedly tried to smooth things over. Lu Yu's terrifying aura shocked Huang Yuan and Huang Tianhua. However, they could see that the two women were following Yang Hongwu. Yang Hongwu's cultivation level was not even that of a great Dao Knight, but he was able to make the two half-step universe overlords behave like this. This showed that he was not simple. Besides, Huang Yuan could not see the depth of Yang Hongwu's cultivation level. This made him even more certain that this boy was the savior of Little Yellow Dragon City. Huang Tianhua wasn't an idiot. He was very clear about his second brother's ability. Since he was siding with these three people, he was certain that these three people weren't simple. They weren't people they could provoke. Once they fought, even if these three people weren't their match, they would still cause a huge blow to Little Yellow Dragon City. Huang Tianhua was also aware of this point. Huang Tianxiong was the only one who looked slightly solemn. However, the power of the Saint Devil clan in Zi Xintong's body puzzled him, and he was also worried. In fact, he was not a member of the Saint Demon clan. His master was also not a member of the Saint Demon clan. This time, they had come here to make a name for themselves. However, if a great being from the Saint Demon clan intervened, and if it was a member of the royal family of the Saint Demon clan, then all their efforts would be in vain. If a member of the royal family was present, then even if they conquered Little Yellow Dragon City, they would only be able to take a small part of the credit. Therefore, they did not want others to share the credit. They wanted to obtain this credit in exchange for a chance to revive their ancestor. They were from the Ape Demon clan, and the ancestor of the Ape Demon clan had been suppressed in the Endless Abyss. If they wanted to revive him, they would have to pay a huge price. Moreover, there was only one thing that could do it. This item was in the hands of the Lord of the Demon Realm, Zetion. It was impossible to steal it from him. This item was dispensable to the Lord of the Demon Realm, Zetion. However, if they wanted to obtain it, they would have to pay a sufficient price. However, they did not know that there were other members of the Saint Demon clan in Little Yellow Dragon City. After the group entered the main hall, Huang Tianxiong also stood up. He said enthusiastically, "The three of you are young and promising. With your strength, Little Yellow Dragon City will be saved." "Are you sure?" A meaningful smile appeared on Yang Hongwu's face. Huang Tianxiong's expression changed slightly when he heard this. "I'm afraid you don't want to see us here." Yang Hongwu continued. Huang Tianhua's, Huang Yuan's, and the others' expressions turned ugly. The two of them, including Huang Xiaochuan, looked at Huang Tianxiong. "Little brother, I don't understand what you're saying." Huang Tianxiong said, "You're an honored guest in Little Yellow Dragon City, but if you're not willing to help Little Yellow Dragon City overcome this crisis, then please leave. If it was before, I would choose to leave. But now it's not realistic. I've decided Little Yellow Dragon City belongs to me." Everyone's expression changed when they heard Yang Hongwu's words. The experts of Little Yellow Dragon City stared at Yang Hongwu's group of three. Terrifying auras erupted from their bodies. They were waiting for the city lord, Huang Tianxiong, to give the order, and everyone would attack Yang Hongwu's group. However, Huang Yuan and Huang Tianhua did not move. On the contrary, they did not look at Yang Hongwu, but at Huang Tianxiong. At this moment, Huang Yuan and Huang Tianhua finally realized that something was wrong with their boss. Something wasn't right. "Little brother, why do you have to do this? Although your strength is not bad, you don't have any advantage in Little Yellow Dragon City. Wanting to take over Little Yellow Dragon City? That's a fool's dream." Huang Tianxiong sighed and said, "If you leave now, I won't care about your rude behavior. After all, my Little Yellow Dragon City is now at a critical moment, and I don't want to use my weapons." Huang Tianxiong's tone at this time was still as compassionate as ever. "Father, these three are so insensible and arrogant. We should kill them," Huang Xiaochuan said. Huang Xiaochuan said. He was a little impatient. The kid in front of him made him very jealous. This kid looked much younger than him, and his cultivation realm was not as good as his, but he gave him a lot of pressure. Geniuses were all like this. Towards those who were stronger than them, those who were more talented than them, they would always reject them. Moreover, if he could kill the kid in front of him, he might be able to seize the kid's fortune and break through his bottleneck, allowing his cultivation to rise to the next level. He was blinded by jealousy and had completely lost his calm judgment. In fact, this was due to Huang Tianxiong's influence. This was because Huang Tianxiong had already discovered that his situation was not good. Huang Yuan and Huang Tianhua had already developed suspicions, and these two people's minds were difficult to influence. The only one who could be schemed against and influenced by him was his son, Huang Xiaochuan. "Xiaochuan, come here." At this moment, Huang Yuan saw that something was wrong. He pulled Huang Xiaochuan to his side and sealed his power. At this moment, Huang Xiaochuan lost the power to resist, but his whole body shivered. Although he was blinded by jealousy, he was not stupid. This time, with Huang Yuan's help, he became much more clear-headed. Chapter 2339. You're not big brother. Who are you? At this moment, Huang Yuan looked at Huang Tianxiong coldly. "If I'm not your big brother, then who is? You're actually suspecting me?" Huang Tianxiong was a little angry. Although he knew that his identity might have been exposed and aroused suspicion, in reality, his body was still Huang Tianxiong's. In fact, his soul was also Huang Tianxiong's. It was just that the original memories in his soul had been replaced. He was no longer the original Huang Tianxiong. His consciousness had been erased. He had become a devil ape. You're lying to me. If it wasn't for this little brother, I wouldn't have suspected you. However, I just divined my big brother's fate. My big brother is already dead. He's completely dead. His soul has been erased. You're not my big brother. Who are you? My big brother was killed a year ago. It seems like it was you who killed him. What enmity do we have with you? Why did you kill my big brother? Huang Yuan raged. Hearing this, Huang Xiaochuan was instantly stunned. He looked at Huang Tianxiong in front of him, then at his second uncle Huang Yuan. He couldn't believe what he had just heard. Second uncle, you're saying that my father, he's dead? Then who is this in front of me? He's the enemy who killed your father, Huang Yuan said coldly. No wonder I always felt that there was something wrong with Big Brother. So he's already been possessed. He's no longer the original Big Brother. At this moment, Huang Tianhua was also furious. His aura had already erupted as he stared at Huang Tianxiong. You're actually suspecting me? Very good, very good. Second brother, you've been wanting to seize the city lord's position for a long time, right? You've been waiting for this day for too long. You're the one who brought these three fellas here to scheme against me, right? At this moment, the devil ape that Huang Tianxiong possessed was still unwilling to admit it. He looked at Yang Hongwu and the other two, then at Huang Yuan. At this moment, he still didn't give up. This was his plan. He didn't expect that the appearance of Yang Hongwu and the other two would ruin his plan. Now, his plan was completely ruined. It wouldn't be easy to take over minor Yellow Dragon City. However, he was still the city lord. He still had status and power. He could mobilize the power of Minor Dragon City, as long as he could leave this place. Therefore, when he began to speak, he was already prepared to rush out. But how could it be that easy? Yang Hanwu wasn't the only one who saw through his thoughts. Even Huang Yuan and Huang Tianhua had seen through his thoughts. Originally, this place wasn't sealed off from the outside world. There were no restrictive spells that prevented voice transmissions. It was only after Huang Tianxiong was possessed that he completely sealed it off. Even as the city magistrate, he couldn't break through the restrictive spells. He had to leave this place in order to mobilize the power of Minor Yellow Dragon City. Plot against you? Huang Yuan smiled and said, Do you think I care about the position of City Lord? If I really cared about it, how could my big brother have gotten the position of City Lord of Little Yellow Dragon City? Everyone in Minor Yellow Dragon City knows that the City Lord of Minor Yellow Dragon City was originally me. However, I didn't want to be the City Lord of Minor Yellow Dragon City. I didn't want to be restricted by the position of City Lord, so I gave up the City Lord position. Huang Tianxiong was stunned. He was so nervous that he forgot about this point. He was careless, too careless. Huang Tianhua and Huang Xiaochuan also understood that this Huang Tianxiong, the city lord, wasn't Huang Tianhua's big brother. He wasn't Huang Xiaochuan's father. The real Huang Tianxiong was dead. Bastard, I'm going to kill you to avenge my big brother. You deserve to die. Go together, kill him. I want revenge for my father. At this moment, Huang Xiaochuan's eyes turned red. His whole being was filled with anger and hatred. This was the hatred of killing his father. I didn't expect to be exposed so quickly. This is really beyond my expectation. Huang Tianxiong knew that there was nothing he could do to reverse the situation. It was impossible for him to hide it anymore. Huang Tianxiong looked at the crowd and smiled. This space had already been completely sealed off. With a wave of his hand, this array had turned into a sealed death array. No one who was trapped in this array space could escape. This was the last resort he had set up. This was also his backup plan. It was his worst-case scenario. As an ape devil, he had already put his own life and death aside for the sake of the ape devil clan's rise. Not good. This space has been completely sealed. At this moment, Huang Yuan's face changed. He had participated in setting up this formation and the restriction of this space back then. At that time, He had even asked Huang Tianxiong why he had to set up such a formation and restriction. But now, he had not expected that things would turn out like this. After this formation and restriction was activated, it was all for the sake of mutual destruction. It was simply impossible to break through the sealed space of this formation. This was a death formation with no way out. Huang Tianxiong had said that the reason he arranged such a formation and restriction was to perish together with the enemy. In that case, he would have profited. Therefore, this formation and restriction couldn't be broken once one entered this space. After the formation and restriction were activated, it meant that this place was a death zone. Everyone here would die without a doubt. Why? Why are you doing this? Huang Yuan said coldly. If you do this, you'll die here too. I won't die. My body will die. This body isn't mine. It's your elder brother's. He's Huang Tianxiong. This body is Huang Tianxiong's, not mine. As for me, if my body dies, my soul dies. My real body will be resurrected as long as I pay a price. But it's definitely worth it for me. Ha ha ha! Huang Tianxiong laughed maniacally. Who the hell are you? Who am I? So what if I tell you, I am the demonic ape clan's demonic ape Shah. My demonic ape clan will conquer the 1,000 Dragons Imperial City and contribute greatly to the demon region. When the time comes, my demonic ape ancestor will return. My demonic ape clan will stand at the pinnacle of the world once more. Ha ha ha! At this moment, Ape Devil Killer no longer concealed his face. At this moment, he had regained his original appearance. He was a terrifying ape devil. Damn you. You really deserve to die. You damn devil. So all of this was part of your plan? Everything was part of your plan? Huang Yuan gritted his teeth. He never thought that the traitor would be his so-called brother. Chapter 2340. I'll remember it in 1 second. Wonderful, no pop-up window, free reading. Kill him. Huang Yuan and the other two were about to attack when Yang Hongwu said, It's too early for you to be happy. What do you mean by hanging me here? Yang Hongwu's words made everyone a little confused. Brat, you want to get out? I've told you it's impossible. No one can open this array in this sealed space. Not even a universe overlord. There's no way to escape from this sealed array. Demon Ape Killer laughed wildly. I don't care who you are. You've come in here and ruined my plan, so you have to die. Do you know that? Yang Hongwu laughed and looked at him. You're not qualified to kill me. You're just a little demon ape. How dare you be so arrogant in front of me? Even the master of Demon Area doesn't dare to say such words in front of me. You think you can kill me? How arrogant. Hearing Yang Hongwu's words, Demonic Ape Killer sneered. This guy was merely a Dao Master, not even a great Dao Master. If he were a universe overlord, he would have believed him. However, Yang Hongwu was so weak that he was not worth mentioning at all. If it were not for Huang Yuan and the two women beside him, Demonic Ape Killer would not have been able to defeat Yang Hongwu. He wasn't worried at all. It was because of these people that Demon Ape Killer had no choice but to use the method of mutual destruction. After all, if he died here, his original body could be resurrected, but he would have to pay a huge price. His strength would drop, and he wouldn't be able to make any progress in his cultivation in the future. You want to trap me with this formation? Yang Hongwu said. He waved his hand, and a ray of light flew out of his hand. The next moment, Yang Hongwu easily broke the formation. The moment the formation was opened, Demon Ape Kill's eyes widened. He could not believe what was happening before his eyes. He knew very well how terrifying and powerful this formation was. Yet this formation was so easily opened. It completely exceeded everyone's expectations. Impossible. How can my formation be broken so easily? This is simply impossible. It's an illusion. It's definitely an illusion. Demonic Ape Shah roared. At this moment, he was a little crazy. This was completely out of his calculations. This meant that all his plans are going to fail. Years of planning have been destroyed in a single day. Nothing is impossible. Is there any formation or restriction that I can't break before me? Yang Hongwu faintly smiled as he said, I've heard that there are demons in Little Yellow Dragon City, so I came to take a look. I didn't expect to see one. This little ape devil doesn't know the immensity of heaven and earth. What's even more laughable is that this little ape devil wants to attack me and trap me. What a joke. I'll kill you. I'll kill you. At this time, the demonic ape killer crazily rushed towards Yang Hongwu. He wanted to kill this culprit, this bastard, this person who ruined all of his plans. He was furious. He was berserk. Be careful. Seeing Demon Ape Kill making his move, Huang Yuan loudly warned. However, Yang Hongwu was incomparably calm. He was not worried at all. Are you courting death? Yang Hongwu chuckled and waved his hand. When Demon Ape Kill was about to reach him, an invisible barrier appeared. This invisible barrier easily blocked Demon Ape Kill's attack. Formation. This is the power of a formation. Oh my god. Seeing this scene, Huang Yuan and Huang Tianhua were simply shocked. As for Huang Xiaochuan, his expression was ugly. He thought of the consequences if he wanted to attack Yang Hongwu. It was obvious that he would have died long ago. This is too terrifying. When did he arrange a formation? Zi Xintong and Huang Tianhua were not surprised by Huang Yuan and the others' shock. They were already used to seeing Yang Hongwu arrange a formation without anyone noticing. Damn it, formation! While those people were shocked, it was different for the demonic ape kill, making him go mad. Disrespecting me will be the biggest mistake of your life. Today, you will die here. Moreover, you won't be able to revive even if you want to. As Yang Hongwu spoke, a huge seal appeared. This seal was filled with a golden brilliance, and this golden light was very bright. It was filled with a terrifying might. It was a boundless power. This golden radiance gave people a terrifying suppression, especially for the ape demon killer. This golden radiance was a terrifying and upright strength. It was a pure and masculine strength, which was the nemesis of the devil race. The demonic ape kill was burned badly by this terrifying power. Damn it, this is the power of light. Damn it, this is the power of light and life. At this time, the demonic ape killer was clear that he was dead for sure. Yang Hongwu alone could easily kill him without needing anyone else. However, he didn't believe that Yang Hongwu would be able to destroy his soul. His soul here could be killed, but his soul back in the clan absolutely couldn't be killed. I admit that you can kill me, but I will come back. I will lead the army of my demon ape clan and come back. At that time, all of you will die. All of you will die. Demon Ape Kill roared. Naive. I said that I will kill you thoroughly. I will kill you thoroughly. I am a man of my word. Yang Hongwu coldly said. Finished speaking, Yang Hongwu controlled the common life Great Seal and directly smashed towards the demonic ape kill. Demon Ape Kill could only helplessly watch the terrifying seal coming towards him. There was no room for him to resist. Damn it! Since he knew that he couldn't resist, he could only fight to the death. Perhaps he could achieve a certain effect. Even if he couldn't kill Demon Ape Kill, he would at least severely injure him. At this time, Demon Ape Kill burned his soul power. Since this part of his soul power had to be consumed and burned, he might as well go crazy. He didn't want to kill Demon Ape Kill, but he wanted to injure Demon Ape Kill severely. Once a person went crazy, it was very terrifying. Oh no, he is going to self-destruct. Seeing Demon Ape Kill's crazy action, Zi Xintong and Lu Yu were a little worried. After all, burning one soul would increase his combat power crazily, and he would become very powerful. Even though they knew that Yang Hongwu's strength was very strong, with the help of the array, he would become very powerful. He had fought against and killed universe overlords before. Therefore, there was no doubt about Yang Hongwu's strength. Chapter 2341. Self-destruct? That's a fool's dream. It's impossible for you to self-destruct in my hands. Yang Hongwu smiled faintly. With a wave of his hand, a beam of light flew out from Yang Hongwu's hand and landed on the soul of Demon Ape Kill. As a result, Demon Ape Kill's soul was imprisoned instantly, unable to move at all. This scene caused everyone to be shocked. What kind of technique was this? What kind of strength was this? It was absolutely impossible for an ordinary universe overlord to achieve this. One should know that the self-explosion of one's soul could only be easily sealed by a master who had cultivated the soul void Great Tao. Others simply could not achieve this. However, Yang Hongwu did it. Could it be that he had cultivated the soul void Great Tao? Moreover, he was at the level of a universe overlord? If that was the case, then it would be truly terrifying, truly terrifying. If he could hide his cultivation level so easily in the 1,000-dragon divine domain, then how terrifying would he be? Of course, if his cultivation level was not at the level of a great pathmaster, it would be even more frightening. A cultivator who was not even a universe overlord had comprehended the soul void, great path, and reached such a profound and terrifying level. Such a genius was simply beyond the comprehension of ordinary people. The so-called geniuses they had seen and imagined were nothing in front of this man. If it was the second possibility, then it would be truly terrifying. But no matter which one it was, they were not people they could afford to offend. If they were to go against Yang Hongwu, they would definitely die. This was the case for the demonic ape in front of them. Just a moment ago, it was still arrogant and insufferably arrogant, thinking that it was awesome and powerful. But in the blink of an eye, it had become a prisoner. It could be said that it could neither live nor die. If it had been before, they would not have believed that Yang Hongwu was so powerful and terrifying that he could kill Demon Ape Kill directly and make it impossible for him to be resurrected. But now everyone believed it. Even the demonic Ape Shah was trembling in fear. He had a premonition that he wouldn't be able to come back to life if he were to die here. Even if their old ancestor were to return, he wouldn't be able to come back to life. In fact, the grand plan of the demonic ape clan might fail because of this guy. He might become a great enemy of the demon ape clan. This terrifying guy in front of him might even be the one who wiped out the entire demon ape clan. Thinking of this, Demon Ape Kill was extremely terrified. However, his soul had been imprisoned, and he couldn't even move. Even if he wanted to speak, he couldn't. It's over. Die. At this moment, Yang Hongwu transformed into a giant golden dragon. The giant golden dragon opened its mouth and swallowed Demon Ape Kill. What a terrifying dragon might. Huang Yuan and the others were shocked when they saw this scene. This was the supreme bloodline pressure of dragons. What level was this giant golden dragon? This bloodline level was too high. They even felt that such a bloodline level was something that not even the emperor of 1,000 dragons, their emperor, had such a bloodline level. Several people gulped their saliva. Huang Yuan was rejoicing that he did not become enemies with Yang Hongwu. As for Huang Xiaochuan, he was in fear. He was really worried that Yang Hongwu would hold a grudge. After all, he wanted to kill Yang Hongwu and make an enemy out of Yang Hongwu. If he had really attacked directly and was not stopped by Huang Yuan, he would have become a corpse by now. But even so, he was still very worried. He was worried that Yang Hongwu would hold a grudge and attack him again. However, Yang Hongwu didn't care at all. At this moment, after Yang Hongwu devoured Demon Ape Kill, a thought crossed the space and directly erased Demon Ape Kill's true spirit in the ancestral land of the Demon Ape clan. Demon Ape Kill was completely obliterated. In the ancestral land of the Demon Ape clan, the demonic ape killer's soul was completely obliterated, and the incarnation condensed from his true spirit also shattered. This instantly shook the entire Demon Ape clan. Ancestor, something bad has happened. Demon Ape Kill's true spirit incarnation has been destroyed. And Demon Ape, who was guarding the ancestral land, hurriedly came out and shouted loudly. What? An ancestor of the demonic ape clan immediately stood up. Is what you said true? This was Demon Ape Kill's uncle. His strength was one of the best in the Demon Ape clan. He attached great importance to Demon Ape Kill. That was why he gave Demon Ape Kill such a great responsibility and gave him the opportunity to perform meritorious deeds. He also paid a great price to increase Demon Ape Kill's strength. Demon Ape Kill's true spirit incarnation was also blessed with the fortune of the Demon Ape clan to protect his true spirit. Demon Ape Kill's true spirit was impossible to be obliterated. Even if his true body was killed, he would definitely be resurrected in the ancestral land. But this time, an unexpected situation happened. Demon Ape Kill's true spirit was obliterated. The opponent was so powerful that he could directly cross the void and come to the ancestral land of the Demon Ape clan to obliterate his true spirit. Wasn't such strength too terrifying? What did the demonic ape killer do to provoke such a terrifying existence? It's true, ancestor. It's all true. The demon ape trembled. He was very worried that the ancestor would get angry and kill him. Damn it. What did this little bastard do to provoke such a terrifying existence? At that moment, although he was extremely furious, he was even more terrified. Although the demonic ape killer was someone that he thought highly of, a genius that he had focused on nurturing, and a descendant of his bloodline, he was even more worried. He was worried that the terrifying existence that the demonic ape killer had provoked would make a move against the people of their bloodline. For a powerhouse of that level, he could single-handedly kill an entire race that was related to him by blood. Pass down my order. My clan is not allowed to go out. Everyone is to cultivate in seclusion. Demon Ape Kill's uncle said. At this time, Yang Hongwu didn't know that because he killed the soul of the demonic ape clan's true spirit avatar, the demonic ape clan's uncle was so scared that the demonic ape clan's uncle went into secluded cultivation. However, even if Yang Hongwu knew about it, he wouldn't care. Yang Hongwu wouldn't waste so much time to deal with a mere demon ape kill. In the devil's domain, there was only one person that Yang Hongwu cared about and worried about, and that was Zetian of the Saint Devil clan. In other words, Zetian was the lord of the devil's domain. In other words, he was Yang Hongwu's sworn enemy. He had defeated Zetian many times and even killed him, but he couldn't completely kill him. Zetian was like a piece of sticky candy that couldn't be shaken off. Chapter 2342. Welcome the new city lord. At this moment, Huang Yuan suddenly spoke. The city lord is mighty. Huang Tianhua also reacted at this moment. Seeing his second brother's reaction, he also knelt down and shouted, City lord. This time, Huang Xiaochuan was a little confused. Shouldn't the position of city lord belong to him? He had always been the young city lord, but now his uncle was actually acknowledging a stranger as the city lord. How could he accept this? He couldn't figure it out. Although he knew that Yang Hongwu's strength was terrifying and he wasn't a match for him, he couldn't accept being stripped of his position as the young city lord and the future city lord. This was equivalent to watching his beloved being taken away by someone else. How could he accept this? Second uncle, Uncle 3, What about me? Hurry up and welcome the new city lord. Huang Yuan glared at him. In fact, Huang Yuan knew very well that Yang Hongwu wouldn't even put a mere minor yellow dragon city in his eyes. How could such a genius, such an expert, stay in such a small city? How could such a small pond accommodate such a powerful true dragon? Therefore, Huang Yuan decided to do this. If he could really stay, it would be of great benefit to the entire minor yellow dragon city and Huang Yuan's group. With him here, minor yellow dragon city could become the next 1,000 dragons imperial city or even surpass it. Huang Yuan had already guessed this. The possibility was very high. Unfortunately, how could Yang Hongwu care about a mere minor yellow dragon city? After all, minor yellow dragon city was only a small satellite city of the 1,000 dragons imperial city. What he wanted was the 1,000 dragons imperial city, so he wouldn't care about minor yellow dragon city. However, in the future, minor yellow dragon city would definitely be under his control, just like the 1,000 dragons emperor. In fact, if Yang Hongwu could control the 1,000 dragons imperial city and become the lord of the 1,000 dragons divine domain, the 1,000 dragons divine domain would become even stronger and might even annex other divine domains. Huang Yuan had a strong premonition about this. Therefore, Huang Yuan only had one thought in his mind at this time, and that was to hug Yang Hongwu's thigh and become his follower or even a lackey. As long as he could follow Yang Hongwu, his future would be limitless. This was the thought of a person who had the art of divination and language divination. Moreover, if Yang Hongwu didn't stay, then mini Yellow Dragon City would be in danger and would fall. At that time, not to mention the future, under the threat of the devil race and the attack of the devil race, whether they could survive or not would be a huge problem. How could there be anything else? How could there be any future? Therefore, in Huang Yuan's heart, no matter what, he had to hold on to Yang Hongwu. As long as he acknowledged him as the city lord, he wouldn't abandon Minor Yellow Dragon City. This way, there would be hope for Minor Yellow Dragon City. Otherwise, Minor Yellow Dragon City would really be finished. Seeing Huang Yuan and Huang Tianhua's reaction, Huang Xiaochuan had no choice but to kneel. City Lord. His tone was filled with reluctance. When Yang Hongwu saw the three's reaction, he smiled and didn't care. On the other hand, Zi Xintong was quite happy. I'll leave the city lord position to you. This is your city to begin with. Yang Hongwu said, That's right, this is just a small city. It's nothing. We don't care. After hearing Yang Hongwu's words, Zi Xintong spoke. In fact, Zi Xintong and Lu Yu knew very well what Yang Hongwu wanted. They didn't just want a small city or a small satellite city. Even an entire 1,000 Dragons Imperial City was nothing in their eyes, let alone a small satellite city of the 1,000 Dragons Imperial City. City Lord, are you going to abandon Minor Yellow Dragon City? At this time, Huang Yuan spoke. City Lord, you said before that you want Minor Yellow Dragon City. Now, the entire Little Yellow Dragon City revolves around the City Lord. If the City Lord abandons Little Yellow Dragon City, then so many people in Little Yellow Dragon City will die here. My lord, can you bear to do that? Yang Hongwu didn't want to be the city lord of Minor Yellow Dragon City. How could he be willing? Are you forcing me to do this? Yang Hongwu's face darkened when he heard Huang Yuan's words. He looked coldly at Huang Yuan. What he hated the most was being threatened by others. Huang Yuan was startled by his tone. Only now did he realize his mistake. How could a genius like Yang Hongwu be threatened? He was too anxious. No, I didn't mean that. Huang Yuan hurriedly explained. You misunderstood me. I don't dare to do that. I just don't want to see Minor Yellow Dragon City become a slaughterhouse of the devil race. I don't want to see Minor Yellow Dragon City become a living hell. What does Minor Yellow Dragon City have to do with us? Zi Xintong said, You provoked the devil race. This is your own business. You need to solve it yourself. We don't have so much time to waste here. This time, I won't fuss over it. I'm just passing by Little Yellow Dragon City. I won't stay here. As for the devil race in Little Yellow Dragon City, you can only rely on yourselves. Moreover, there is a suitable candidate for the city lord of Little Yellow Dragon City. Yang Hongwu said. Although Huang Yuan didn't know what Yang Hongwu meant, could there be another suitable candidate for the city lord in Minor Yellow Dragon City? Huang Yuan didn't know this. Even if he knew, he wouldn't care. In his heart, how could there be someone comparable to Yang Hongwu? No matter how suitable the other party was, they couldn't be compared to the one in front of him. City Lord, there's something in our Minor Yellow Dragon City that should be enough for City Lord to stay and help us. At this time, Huang Yuan said, What is it? Zi Xintong was very curious. What do you have that can attract us to stay? We don't care about ordinary treasures. Unless it's a void treasure, other treasures are nothing. It's not worth wasting our time. 1,000 Dragon Seal. Huang Yuan said, I have news about the 1,000 Dragon Seal, the core of the 1,000 Dragon Divine Domain. 1,000 Dragon Seal. Both Huang Tianhua and Huang Xiaochuan were dumbfounded. Yang Hongwu narrowed his eyes. The 1,000 Dragon Seal was a seal refined from the core of the 1,000 Dragons Divine Domain. It was the key to controlling the 1,000 Dragons Divine Domain. No wonder the 1,000 Dragons Emperor hadn't been able to fully control the 1,000 Dragons Divine Domain. The 1,000 Dragon Seal was probably one of the keys. If you want to talk about the 9 Heavens Divine Dragon technique with more like-minded people, follow Excellent Reading Literature on WeChat. Talk about life, find friends. Chapter 2343. However, why didn't Huang Yuan obtain the Thousand Dragons seal himself, even though he knew where it was? This was the Thousand Dragon Seal. It represented supreme authority in the Thousand Dragon Divine Realm. With the Thousand Dragon Seal in hand, one could become the master of the Thousand Dragon Divine Realm. It was definitely worth it, even if it meant taking some risks. In fact, how could Huang Yuan not have thought of such a thing? He also wanted to obtain this supreme treasure, but even though he knew some information about it, he was powerless to obtain it. Such an item was simply not something he could covet. Even if the Thousand Dragon Seal was right in front of him, it wasn't something he could obtain. This was because he couldn't gain the seal's approval. Furthermore, he only had information about the Thousand Dragon Seal, but he hadn't actually seen its existence. It was precisely because of this that he was willing to tell Yang Hongwu about the Thousand Dragon Seal. In exchange, he hoped that Yang Hongwu would be able to protect Minor Yellow Dragon City. It would be best if Yang Hongwu could follow him. However, he could tell that Yang Hongwu wasn't too willing. Huang Yuan was rather depressed about this. One had to know that Huang Yuan's divination skills were top-notch. In the entire Thousand Dragon Divine Realm, he was confident that there weren't many people who were better at divination than him. If it really is the Thousand Dragon Seal, I can promise to protect Minor Yellow Dragon City for you. In fact, I can even give you an opportunity in the future. Yang Hongwu looked at Huang Yuan and said to Yang Hongwu, if he could really obtain the Thousand Dragon Seal, it would be a great help to him in controlling the Thousand Dragon Divine Realm. At the very least, he would have a much greater chance of success than he did now. This was why Yang Hongwu agreed to Huang Yuan's request. Thank you, young master. Huang Yuan was overjoyed when he heard Yang Hongwu's words. He smiled. Yang Hongwu's agreement meant that Minor Yellow Dragon City's crisis was truly resolved. The moment Yang Hongwu said those words, Minor Yellow Dragon City's crisis was resolved. At this moment, he finally understood how amazing and powerful this young man in front of him was. With just a few words, he had resolved Minor Yellow Dragon City's crisis. He was indeed the benefactor of Minor Yellow Dragon City, a true benefactor. If he could follow him, his future achievements would be limitless. Don't thank me. It's a fair trade between us. However, if the information you gave me is not true, and I'm not satisfied, you can expect the consequences. Yang Hongwu said softly. When the time comes, I will. Minor Yellow Dragon City, Minor Yellow Dragon City, and Yellow Dragon City will disappear into the void. I won't. I definitely won't. You don't have to worry about that. How would I dare to deceive you? I hope you're telling the truth. Yang Hongwu said. Now, you can tell me the information about the Thousand Dragon Seal. Should I tell you here? Huang Yuan was stunned. He knew his nephew's situation. He was the disciple of the Thousand Dragons Emperor's junior brother, Jin Wuang. If he leaked this information to Jin Wuang, it would be a great contribution. Moreover, with Huang Xiaochuan's current thoughts about Yang Hongwu and his nephew's ambition, he would definitely do so. It doesn't matter. Just tell me. It's mine. No one can take it away from me. Yang Hongwu smiled. He didn't care whether the information about the Thousand Dragon Seal would be leaked or not. He stood there with an unfathomable look on his face, incomparably confident. This was the confidence of a powerhouse, the confidence to control everything. The two of them were holding their breaths. They were Huang Tianhua and Huang Xiaochuan. They stared at Huang Yuan, fearing that they would miss a small detail. They wanted to hear the news about the Thousand Dragon Seal. For Huang Tianhua, he was also ambitious. However, he knew that ambition needed sufficient strength to support it. If he could obtain the Thousand Dragon Seal, then his strength would soar to the sky. Of course, he only wanted to fish in troubled waters. If he could obtain it, then it would be great. If he couldn't, then he wouldn't take such a huge risk. After all, although the treasure was good, it depended on whether he had the life to obtain it. Minor Heavenly Dragon City. The Thousand Dragon Seal is in Minor Heavenly Dragon City. Huang Yuan said. Minor Heavenly Dragon City? Huang Xiaochuan and the others were startled when they heard this. In fact, Minor Heavenly Dragon City wasn't much stronger than Minor Yellow Dragon City. However, Minor Heavenly Dragon City was a very bad city because it was located at the edge of Thousand Dragon Divine Domain. Moreover, the blood of dragons in Minor Heavenly Dragon City was very weak. It could be said that Minor Heavenly Dragon City's strength would be at the bottom if it wasn't for the outsiders. However, because Minor Heavenly Dragon City was located at the edge of Thousand Dragon Divine Domain, it was connected to the void. Therefore, there were a lot of experts in Minor Heavenly Dragon City. However, the forces in Minor Heavenly Dragon City weren't united. The members of the Little Sky Dragon City were very complicated and chaotic. Although it didn't seem strong, even the Emperor of 1,000 Dragons was a headache for the Little Sky Dragon City. In fact, the Emperor of 1,000 Dragons had once tried to reorganize the Little Sky Dragon City, but it ended in failure. From this point, one could see how special the Little Sky Dragon City was. In fact, there was no reason why the Emperor of 1,000 Dragons couldn't sense the existence of the 1,000 Dragon Seal in Minor Heavenly Dragon City. After all, the Emperor of 1,000 Dragons had personally visited Minor Heavenly Dragon City in the past. As the owner of 1,000 Dragon Divine Domain, how could the Emperor of 1,000 Dragons not sense the existence of the 1,000 Dragon Seal? Therefore, the possibility of the 1,000 Dragon Seal in Minor Heavenly Dragon City was very small. At least, Huang Tianhua and Huang Xiaochuan thought so. The two of them even guessed that Huang Yuan was plotting against Yang Hongwu and the others. This is very unlikely. Minor Heavenly Dragon City is very special. Moreover, the Emperor of 1,000 Dragons has been there before. I don't believe it. At this moment, Huang Tianhua couldn't help but say. He didn't believe that Huang Yuan would plot against Yang Hongwu. After all, if he wanted to plot against Yang Hongwu, he wouldn't have tried so hard to make Yang Hongwu the city lord of Minor Heavenly Dragon City. However, it wasn't impossible. As a brother, Huang Tianhua knew that his second brother was a very cunning person. He was very scary when it came to scheming. He had seen Huang Yuan plot against others before. He didn't even need to do it himself. I believe you. At this moment, Yang Hongwu said, "Let's go to Minor Heavenly Dragon City." If you want to talk about the 9 Heavens Divine Dragon technique with more like-minded people, follow excellent reading literature on WeChat. Talk about life, find friends. Chapter 2344. Half a day later, in the Heavenly Dragon City. So this is the Heavenly Dragon City. It's really a mixed bag of good and bad people. Yang Hongwu couldn't help but sigh after arriving at the Heavenly Dragon City. Yes, young master, you have to be careful. The Heavenly Dragon City is not that simple. It's much more complicated than our Heavenly Dragon City. You may encounter some terrifying experts. Huang Yuan said. In fact, Huang Yuan had been to the Heavenly Dragon City several times. Back then, he was almost killed by a seemingly weak person. If it wasn't for his good luck, he wouldn't have survived. Therefore, the Heavenly Dragon City was indeed full of hidden experts. After all, this was a place that even the 1,000 Dragons Emperor, the owner of the 1,000 Dragons Divine Domain, couldn't control. This showed that the Heavenly Dragon City wasn't simple. It's all right. There are indeed experts in the Heavenly Dragon City, but I'm not afraid. Yang Hongwu said with a smile. Since young master said so, I'm sure you're confident. Huang Tianhua said at this time. However, young master, I think we should find the 1,000 Dragon Seal as soon as possible. In fact, Huang Tianhua wanted to return to the Heavenly Dragon City as soon as possible. After all, the Heavenly Dragon City was his home. Soon, the Heavenly Dragon City would be invaded by the devil race. This was what worried Huang Tianhua the most. Although Huang Tianhua was ambitious and wanted to obtain the 1,000 Dragon Seal, he wasn't a fool. The probability of him obtaining the 1,000 Dragon Seal was very slim. If it wasn't for his second brother, Huang Yuan, who asked him to come, he wouldn't have followed them. I've already sensed the existence of the 1,000 Dragon Seal. Huang Yuan, what you said is true. Therefore, I will protect the Little Yellow Dragon City for you. You can rest assured that when I left the Little Yellow Dragon City, I have already set up a formation. This formation will be able to protect the little yellow dragon city until we return. It is impossible for a mere demonic ape clan to break the formation that I have set up. Therefore, you don't need to worry about the safety of the little yellow dragon city. After a pause, Yang Hongwu continued, Of course, if you're still worried, you can return now. However, I can't guarantee your safety. Huang Tianhua was a little surprised. Huang Yuan sensed danger. If he left Yang Hongwu and returned to the Heavenly Dragon City with Huang Tianhua, his life would be in danger. Therefore, he said, I said I'll follow you, young master. How can I leave? Hearing this, Yang Hongwu smiled and didn't take it to heart. He wanted to follow Luo Feng because he saw the benefits. However, with his ability and strength, he was not qualified to be Luo Feng's follower. Unless he could make a breakthrough in his cultivation level and become a universe overlord in a short period of time, he might be able to give him a chance to run errands for Luo Feng. You're outsiders, so you have to pay protection fees. Do you understand? All of a sudden, the group of people was stopped. Dragon was Heavenly Tianhua. Scram! Huang Tianhua was furious. He was stopped from collecting protection fees. This was the first time in his life. Seeing this, Yang Hongwu chuckled. He did not expect to encounter such a situation. However, in Heavenly Dragon City, there are all kinds of people. It was not surprising to encounter such a situation. These few people seemed to be quite powerful. The leader of the group was a half-step universe overlord. Otherwise, he wouldn't have dared to be so arrogant. It should be known that they were all very powerful. However, what puzzled Yang Hongwu was that there was only one half-step universe overlord in this group of people, yet he dared to stop them. He must have a backer. Otherwise, he wouldn't have dared to be so presumptuous. Old man, you're so arrogant. How dare you be so presumptuous in Heavenly Dragon City? Are you tired of living? Even the Emperor of 1,000 Dragons does not dare to speak like this in Heavenly Dragon City. Who do you think you are? The man was not afraid at all. He looked at Huang Tianhua and said coldly, If you do not give a reasonable explanation, this day next year will be the anniversary of your death. Huang Tianhua's face darkened. If he was alone, he would not have dared to be so presumptuous in Heavenly Dragon City. However, they were with Yang Hongwu. Yang Hongwu was very strong. They could not see clearly and did not know how strong he was. This time, he was so arrogant because he wanted to lure Yang Hongwu to make a move. He wanted to see how strong Yang Hongwu was. Who are we? Huang Tianhua asked. You're not qualified to know. I only know that if you continue to be so presumptuous and provoke our master, you will all die. Heavenly Dragon City will be finished. Do you understand? Huang Tianhua said. Yang Hongwu heard Huang Tianhua's words. How could Yang Hongwu not see through his scheme? At this moment, Yang Hongwu slightly narrowed his eyes. This guy dares to scheme against me. How dare he? Huang Yuan felt something was wrong when he heard Huang Tianhua's words. This time, Huang Tianhua was digging his own grave. His third brother did not know the immensity of heaven and earth. He dared to scheme against Yang Hongwu. Wasn't he courting death? At that time, he did not dare to be so presumptuous. Plus, he had the 1,000 Dragon Seal, so he could save his life. Now, Huang Tianhua was probably beyond saving. Alas, Huang Yuan sighed and said in his heart, why bother? He knew that Huang Tianhua did it on purpose. He also knew what he was thinking, but it was a dead end. Your master? He's not even a great Tao venerable. TSK. He just became a Tao venerable. How dare he be so arrogant? At this moment, the man said, not to mention your master, even your father has to follow the rules of our little Heavenly Dragon City. If you don't, you'll die. Do you understand? He smiled and waved his hand, saying, Men, catch these guys for me. How dare they not pay the protection fee in this little Heavenly Dragon City? They don't know how powerful our Heavenly Dragon faction is. Bullshit Heavenly Dragon faction, die for me. Huang Tianhua suddenly waved his hand, and a powerful force burst out. He made his move, and the moment he made his move, he used his full strength. The person closest to him, before he could even react, was already beaten to death. This time, the people of the Heavenly Dragon faction were completely enraged. In the little Heavenly Dragon city, no one dared to be so presumptuous and kill the people of the Heavenly Dragon faction. They must be tired of living. In a little Heavenly Dragon city, there were 3 major factions. Among them, the Heavenly Dragon faction was ranked first. Even the city lord of the little Heavenly Dragon city had to be respectful when he saw the help of the Heavenly Dragon faction. These outsiders dared to kill the people of the Heavenly Dragon faction. This was definitely a big deal. This was absolutely intolerable. They must be killed. If you want to talk about the 9 Heavens Divine Dragon technique with more like-minded people, follow me on WeChat. Talk about life, find confidence. Chapter 2345. How dare you kill people in my little Heavenly Dragon city? Kill them. Huang Tianhua's action completely angered the people of Heavenly Dragon Gang. At this time, the people of Heavenly Dragon Gang went crazy and started to attack Yang Hongwu's group. At this moment, Huang Yuan was infuriated. He had never thought that his third brother would do something like this. This was simply courting death. Moreover, it was as if he didn't want to die fast enough. Huang Yuan had no choice but to start a massacre at this time. On the other hand, Yang Hongwu, Zi Xintong, and Lu Yu were standing on the side. It was as if the 3 of them had disappeared. The Heavenly Dragon Gang's members rushed towards Huang Yuan and Lu Yu, ignoring Yang Hongwu and the other 2. This scene made Huang Tianhua and Huang Yuan puzzled. Could it be that these 3 people came from Little Heavenly Dragon City? This was impossible. But at this moment, although they were suspicious, they didn't have time to think about it. They could only deal with the crazy attacks of these people. In fact, at this time, Yang Hongwu had already arranged a formation. This formation covered the aura of Yang Hongwu's group, making them only see Huang Yuan and Huang Tianhua. Therefore, the people of Heavenly Dragon Gang went crazy and attacked them. They attacked the 2 of them. What's going on? Why aren't they attacking us? At this time, Zi Xintong was also puzzled. Originally, she also wanted to fight with all her might, but she never thought that things would turn out like this. These people actually didn't attack them, which made her very puzzled. Formation? Illusion? Lu Yu looked at Yang Hongwu and said, this was the only possibility. Lu Yu knew that Yang Hongwu couldn't recognize the people here. It was either a formation or an illusion, or Yang Hongwu had silently confused the people of Heavenly Dragon Gang. But the latter was too difficult, and the former was more likely. After all, Yang Hongwu's attainments and formations were very high. Therefore, it was more likely that Yang Hongwu had arranged the formation and illusion. Moreover, Yang Hongwu's ability was completely capable of making these people unable to see through it. After all, when he was arranging the formation, she couldn't see any clues. Even when she was paying attention to it, she didn't see Yang Hongwu at all. When did a martial artist arrange the formation? This was the real strength. Now, Yang Hongwu had just become a Tao master. If he became a universe overlord, or even an invincible overlord, how powerful and terrifying would he be? This shocked Lu Yu. For Lu Yu, the stronger Yang Hongwu was, the better. However, she felt that she couldn't catch up with Yang Hongwu. Therefore, she had to work hard. If she didn't work hard, she was afraid that she would be left far behind by Yang Hongwu. Then, she wouldn't be able to help Yang Hongwu. Now, she felt that the help she could give Yang Hongwu was too little. Sometimes, she even became a burden to Yang Hongwu. Yes, I arranged an illusion formation. They can only see Huang Yuan and Lu Yu. They can't see us, so they won't do anything to us. Yang Hongwu nodded and said. In fact, he was just trying it out. He didn't expect it to work. To have such an effect, this formation was casually arranged by him. Huang Tianhua wanted to scheme against him, but he was wrong. Those who dared to scheme against him didn't have a good ending. Young master, save me. At this time, Huang Yuan certainly saw the clues. At this time, he saw Yang Hongwu and the other 2 standing there, as if they were invisible. He knew that this must be Yang Hongwu's scheme. He was angry. At this time, Huang Tianhua understood the situation. He understood how terrifying Yang Hongwu was. He originally wanted to scheme against Yang Hongwu, but at this time, he already regretted it. What was there to scheme against? How could he scheme against such a person? Scheme against him? He was courting death. It was impossible for him to scheme against Yang Hongwu. At this time, Yang Hongwu didn't scheme against him, but he was already in a dead end. Now, if they wanted to live, the only way was to let Yang Hongwu do it. With Yang Hongwu's ability, as long as he was willing to do it, then they could definitely survive. Previously, he wasn't afraid of death. However, at this time, he wanted to live. He no longer wanted to die. As long as he didn't die, he was willing to pay any price. Young master, save me. I was wrong. Please save me. At this moment, Huang Tianhua's arm was cut. His whole body was in a sorry state. Although many of the Heavenly Dragon Triad's members died, the real experts had yet to make their move. The people of the Heavenly Dragon Triad arrived very quickly. In just a short while, the entire street was completely surrounded by the people of the Heavenly Dragon Triad. Yang Hongwu was incomparably calm and didn't say anything. He pretended not to hear anything. This guy is courting death. He still wants me to save him? This is a dream. It's good enough that I don't do anything. Why would I save him? Young master, I still have a secret, a huge secret. Please show mercy. At this time, the two of them were in a dead end. The strength of the Heavenly Dragon Triad really couldn't be underestimated. Some of the great Tao venerables used joint attack techniques. Their combined attack power was amazing. This was also the reason why the Heavenly Dragon Triad could become one of the three major powers of the Heavenly Dragon City. The Heavenly Dragon Triad was very strong. It was rumored that there were three great ancestors in the Heavenly Dragon Triad. One was surnamed Duan, one was surnamed Xiao, and the last one was surnamed Su. The three great ancestors were all half-step universe overlords, and the three of them could perform the unparalleled three talents formation. This unparalleled three talents formation was extremely overbearing. When the three of them performed it, it was enough to kill a universe overlord. It was truly terrifying. However, no one had ever seen the three great ancestors take action together. However, many people thought that this was just a rumor. If the three great ancestors were really so powerful when they joined forces, how could they just stay in the Heavenly Dragon City? Moreover, the three great ancestors were so powerful that it seemed like it would be a piece of cake for them to take down the Heavenly Dragon City. However, they didn't take action. Therefore, some people didn't believe that the three great ancestors of the Heavenly Dragon Triad were so powerful. Oh, tell me about it. Yang Hongwu didn't take action, but he said, if he was curious, he might take action. If he wasn't interested, only death awaited. Young master, it's not convenient to talk here. At this moment, Huang Yiwen was complaining in his heart. He was really unlucky. Now, even his biggest secret had to be revealed. It was all his third brother's fault. If it weren't for him, he wouldn't have been reduced to such a state. Originally, he had used the news of the Thousand Dragon Seal to win the favor of Yang Hongwu. However, all of this was ruined by his stupid brother. If you want to talk about the Nine Heavens Divine Dragon technique with more like-minded people, follow excellent reading literature on WeChat. Talk about life, find a confidant. Chapter 2346. There's nothing inconvenient about it. No one can hear it. At this moment, Yang Hongwu waved his hand, and Huang Yiwen appeared in front of Yang Hongwu in an instant. The surrounding people were attacking Huang Tianhua in a frenzy. Huang Yiwen was extremely shocked by such means. He did not know what was going on. He only felt that his body was out of his control. In the blink of an eye, he appeared beside Yang Hongwu. Such means were too shocking and powerful. It was really powerful. Yang Hongwu's terrifying power was beyond his expectations. He thought that he had overestimated Yang Hongwu's strength, but now it seemed that he had underestimated Yang Hongwu's ability by far. Speak. Let's see if your words can satisfy me. Otherwise, you'll have to deal with the Heavenly Dragon faction by yourself. Yang Hongwu said. However, Your brother is too reckless. He's dead meat. Do you understand? Understand. I understand this very well. Don't worry, young master. My brother dared to scheme against you. He deserves to die. At this moment, Huang Yuan had completely given up on his brother. He even wanted to kill him personally. It's good that you understand. Yang Hongwu nodded with satisfaction. He realized that Huang Yuan was really a ruthless character. He knew clearly what he could give up and when he could give up. When it was time to give up, he would never hesitate. For the sake of his own interests, for the sake of his own survival, he would do anything. Such a person was absolutely ruthless. Everything revolved around himself. Nothing was more important than himself. Such a person was truly terrifying. Previously, Huang Yuan still had some fetters in his heart. But now, he had given up everything. It could be said that his only weakness now was the mini Yellow Dragon City. There were still things he cared about in mini Yellow Dragon City. Once he lost the things he cared about in mini Yellow Dragon City, then he would truly be heartless. Then, he would truly step into the level of a universe overlord. As an outsider, Yang Hongwu could see very clearly. Huang Yuan seemed to be affectionate and righteous, but in fact, deep in his soul, he was a heartless person. Young master, do you know about God talismans? Divine talisman? Yang Hongwu narrowed his eyes and looked at Huang Yuan in surprise. What do you mean by divine talisman? Could it be that this thing is even more powerful than the Thousand Dragons seal? Although Yang Hongwu knew about the divine talisman, he didn't show it. Of course, he knew about the existence of the divine talisman. Moreover, he had seen the power of the divine talisman. The stronger he became, the more he felt the terror of the divine talisman. Even now, thinking back, the power of the divine talisman that he had encountered before was truly terrifying. Until now, he realized that he had no way to truly carve out the essence of the divine talisman and was unable to control the power of the divine talisman. Although those imitations were imitations, in reality, the difference between them and the real divine talismans was too great. He had tried to refine divine talismans before, but when he was inscribing the runes, he could feel the incomparable majesty in the depths of the void. The power of course, he wanted to obtain the real divine talisman, but in reality, the power of the divine talisman was too strong and too terrifying. If he couldn't get the approval of the divine talisman, he would be courting death if he wanted to have any thoughts about it, especially when he wasn't strong enough. Yang Hongwu thought that if his strength could reach the level of a universe overlord, perhaps he could try to obtain the real divine talisman. Of course, right now, he didn't even know the location of the divine talisman or some information about it. How could he obtain it? And the divine talismans that he had seen were, in fact, just some simple projections. These projections couldn't be carved by others at all without the permission of the divine talisman itself. Moreover, the person who carved these projections of the divine talisman should have been carving the divine talisman. After the projection of the divine talisman, it would have completely disappeared and been obliterated. Therefore, Yang Hongwu didn't dare to recklessly try to carve the divine talisman because he realized that he couldn't withstand the backlash of this terrifying and majestic power at all. Even if he had amazing luck, he didn't dare to try. He wasn't sure if he could withstand the backlash of this terrifying power, but one thing was for sure. Even if he could withstand it, he definitely wouldn't have an easy time. For him, the loss outweighed the gain. Unless he could get the approval of the real divine talisman. Only after the talisman's approval did he dare to give it a try. There was no doubt that the divine talisman was powerful. If he could get a real divine talisman now, his strength would be greatly improved, and it wouldn't be too difficult for him to reach the level of a half-step universe overlord. I'm not sure if it's more powerful than a void true treasure, but this divine talisman is definitely an extremely powerful treasure. That divine talisman can control the power of time. If you can master and comprehend the great way of time and void in it, then your strength will be greatly improved. I saw the use of that divine talisman in an ancient secret record. It said that in ancient times, someone obtained the power of that divine talisman and could travel through time. He could even summon his future self to fight. Huang Yuan said. As for whether it's true or not, I haven't seen it, so I'm not really sure. Young Hongwu's eyes narrowed. This was indeed a terrifying thing. The Tao of Time, the long river of time, how majestic was it? It could break through the shackles of time and summon its future self. Such an ability seemed to be able to shake even the void. Even an overlord couldn't do it. If it was a time divine talisman, it might be possible. However, was there really a time divine talisman in the Thousand Dragon divine domain? Yang Hongwu didn't quite believe it. The divine talisman Yang Hongwu had seen before was not a time divine talisman, but its power was probably something that even a void overlord would be afraid of. As for the time divine talisman and the space divine talisman, they should be the most powerful of the 8 great divine talismans. In any case, Yang Hongwu didn't even know what the 8 great divine talismans were. He only knew that there were 8 great divine talismans in the endless void. What kind of talismans were they? What kind of power did they possess? Wu wasn't sure. That's right. These are the things I saw in the ancient secret record. That ancient secret record shouldn't be fake. After I finished reading it, those things were branded in the depths of my soul. They will only appear when my strength increases. After I finished reading it, the ancient secret record turned into nothingness and disappeared. Before that, the ancient secret record couldn't be destroyed, Huang Yuan said. If you want to talk about the 9 Heavens Divine Dragon technique with more like-minded people, follow excellent reading literature on WeChat. Talk about life, find friends. Chapter 2347. This is not strange. Although Yang Hongwu had never heard of such a situation, in fact, it was not strange. Some special experts would record something, and once a fated person saw it, it would automatically destroy it. Before meeting the fated person, it could not be destroyed because the expert's power was attached to it. As long as the power was still there, no one could destroy it. Only those who were strong enough to ignore the power above and those restrictions would be able to do so. However, if Huang Yuan was the fated person for the ancient secret record, why didn't he look for the divine talisman himself? I'm curious. If you know about the time divine talisman, why don't you look for it yourself? Yang Hongwu looked at Huang Yuan and asked. After all, it was not an ordinary item. No one would be able to resist the temptation of such a powerful divine talisman. It was much more precious than the Thousand Dragon seal. If one could obtain it, one's strength would definitely soar to the sky and break through the horizon. Huang Yuan smiled bitterly and said, Young master's thinking is too simple. That item is not something that ordinary people can obtain. Moreover, I only know some information from the ancient secret record. As for whether it's true or not, I don't know. Moreover, I can't enter that place with my current strength. That item is not in the Thousand Dragon divine domain. Then where is it? It was not strange that it was not in the Thousand Dragon divine domain. A mere Thousand Dragon divine domain would not be able to contain something like the divine talisman. Which divine domain is it in? In fact, Yang Hongwu believed that the divine talisman was not in the divine domain. The divine domain was indeed very powerful, but it was not enough to contain the real divine talisman. Of course, if the divine talisman restrained its power and wanted to hide it, there might be a slight possibility. Otherwise, it would not exist. Therefore, the possibility of the divine talisman being in the 13 divine domains was very slim. It's not in the divine domain. It's outside the void. Huang Yuan said, outside the void? Yang Hongwu was slightly stunned. What did he mean by outside the void? Could it be that he wasn't in this part of the void? Yes, that's what you're thinking. It's not in the void. Huang Yuan looked at Yang Hongwu worriedly. After all, the time divine talisman was not in the void, but in the void. It was not difficult to find the time divine talisman. If one was strong enough and had the ability to travel through the void, then there was no other way. It's not in the void? What's the point of telling me? Yang Hongwu said coldly. I'm not satisfied with that. Huang Yuan smiled bitterly and said, Don't be angry, Prince. Listen to me. Although the time god talisman is not in this space, with your ability, you can go to the outer domain void. However, I can't do that at all. In order to enter the outer domain void, one's cultivation must be at the level of a universe overlord. With your ability, it's only a matter of time before you reach the level of a universe overlord. Even now, Prince's ability is enough to compete with a cultivator at the level of a universe overlord. Therefore, Prince is completely capable of entering the outer domain void and obtaining the Time God Talisman. In fact, Yang Hongwu did not particularly care. For Yang Hongwu, although he wanted to get the Time Divine Talisman, it was not necessary. Yang Hongwu had accepted the Time Divine Talisman. If he could get it, then it was his luck. If he could not get it, then it was normal. After all, it was not something that could be obtained easily. It was a supreme treasure that was more precious and powerful than his life seal and Void Dragon Gate. That's easy for you to say, Yang Hongwu said coldly. The void is fraught with danger. Even if universe overlords can enter the void, it's actually very dangerous. If they're not careful, they'll be completely annihilated and dissipate in the void. Not to mention entering the void outside the domain. The power of the great path of void and the void outside the domain will repel great beings from the void outside the domain. I know this better than you. Therefore, ordinary universe, overlord level cultivators don't dare to enter the void outside the domain. They have to be very careful when they're in the native void, fearing that they'll encounter some terrifying void beasts. Speaking of which, the void was indeed very frightening. Because of this, universe overlords did not dare to enter the void outside the void. It was even more impossible to enter the void outside the void unless one's strength had reached the level of an invincible overlord. However, they would only try to explore the void outside the void. Once they encountered any special danger, they would return immediately. In other words, the void was very dangerous. The void outside the void was even more dangerous. Therefore, without enough strength and confidence, no one would easily enter the void outside the void outside the void. Well, Prince, I know that the void outside the void is very dangerous, so I don't dare to think about it. Huang Yuan looked embarrassed and continued, I understand what you're saying, but the space-time divine talisman is indeed in the extraterritorial void. In the ancient secret record I obtained, there's a void transmission formation that can directly transport you to the extraterritorial void and to the location of the space-time divine talisman. Oh, Yang Hongwu was slightly surprised to hear this. He did not expect such a situation to exist. However, it was not very likely. It can directly transport you to the void outside the void where the space and time charm is located. Are you sure about this? The time charm is not an ordinary void treasure. How can it be fixed in one place? As far as I know, those divine talismans are very special. It is impossible for them to be fixed in one place. The time divine talisman is even more mysterious. If I'm not wrong, the time divine talisman should be wandering in the time void and can be at any time point. Even if you're transferred to the extraterritorial void, you may not be able to find the time divine talisman unless you can enter the time river in the void. Is that formation really so powerful? Yi Qingyu thought to himself. Is it a void formation that can travel through time? Yang Hongwu continued to ask. This made Huang Yuan a little confused. The divine talisman of time. Indeed, how could such a powerful treasure be fixed in one place? If that was the case, wouldn't the time charm have been found long ago? This immediately caused Huang Yuan to have doubts in his heart. If you want to talk about the 9 Heavens Divine Dragon technique with more like-minded people, follow excellent reading literature on WeChat. Talk about life, find confidence. Chapter 2348. That's right. Who could enter the space-time to find the specific location of the Divine Time Talisman. Moreover, the Divine Time Talisman could escape from the long river of time at any time, unless it was someone who cultivated the Time Tao and could enter the long river of time to travel between the past and the future. However, if one's cultivation had reached such a level, why would he care about the divine time talisman? Therefore, unless one's cultivation had reached a terrifying level where he could ignore the shackles of time, it would be possible for him to control the divine time talisman. However, if one's cultivation was not strong enough, the only way to obtain the divine time talisman was to gain the recognition of the divine time talisman and let it recognize him as its master. Otherwise, it would be a fool's dream. However, what was recorded in the ancient secret record was indeed a formation. This formation could transport people to the void. As for whether it was a space-time travel formation, Huang Yuan was not sure because he did not recognize this teleportation formation. He only knew that it was a formation. As for what kind of formation it was, he did not know because he was not an array master and did not know much about array Dao. Therefore, there was nothing he could do. Even though he knew that this was a formation that could travel through time and space, the past and the future, he had no way of setting it up. Perhaps he could find someone to set it up, but the person who could set up such a formation wasn't someone he could recruit. At that time, if news of this leaked out, forget about setting up such a formation. His own life would be in danger. Huang Yuan wasn't an idiot. Naturally, he was very clear about this. In addition, the divine time talisman was in the void. Given his strength, he did not dare to take the risk to enter the void. Because of these reasons, he did not attempt to set up a formation or enter the void to seize the divine time talisman. Even though he knew how powerful the divine time talisman was and that it was possible for him to dominate the entire divine domain and become the lord of the entire divine domain, he did not do so. In fact, Huang Yuan had thought about it before. He wanted to obtain the 1,000 Dragon Seal first and increase his strength so that he could take control of the 1,000 Dragon Divine Domain and the 13 Divine Domains. Only then would he plot to seize the Divine Time Talisman. However, all of this was just a thought in his heart. It was almost impossible for him to actually do it. Originally, he wanted to let nature take its course. If his cultivation could increase, then he would give it a try. If he couldn't increase his strength, then he would take the risk when his lifespan was nearing its end. But now, he had no other choice. This was because if he did not reveal this secret and give it to Yang Hongwu, he would die. He did not want to die, so he could only reveal this secret. In fact, this secret was tasteless to Huang Yuan, but it was a pity to throw it away. This was because he knew that with his ability, it was impossible for him to obtain such a treasure. There's a formation recorded in the secret record. This formation can travel through the void. However, I'm not sure if it can teleport to the time node of the Divine Time Talisman because I don't know much about formations. Given your ability, I believe that you can arrange such a formation. You should be able to understand whether this formation can teleport to the void of time, Huang Yuan said. Where's the array? I'll hand it over to you now. As he said that, Huang Yuan condensed a memory. This memory contained information about the formation. Yang Hongwu checked the information about the formation. He narrowed his eyes and was shocked. This formation was really special. It could teleport people to the past. It was really a formation of time. It could teleport people to a certain point in time in the past. Moreover, it could teleport them to a special place in the void. The core of this formation was the mark of time and space, and the other was teleportation. It could teleport to the desired place with the powerful power of time and space. This formation looked very easy, but it was not something that ordinary people could do. This formation could not be set up by ordinary people. It needed someone who had the power of time and also someone who had comprehended the Tao of space. In other words, only someone who had the great Tao of time and the great Tao of space could set it up. Or if there were two people, one with the path of time and the other with the path of space, they would need to cooperate with each other very well. In other words, their minds would need to be connected. More importantly, their cultivation level would need to be at the level of a universe overlord. Even being a universe overlord might not be enough. It would only be possible if one reached the level of an invincible overlord. However, it was not easy to reach the level of an invincible overlord. Most importantly, one had to be an invincible overlord who had comprehended the great path of time and void, while the other had to be a universe overlord who had comprehended the great path of space and void. More importantly, both of them had to be mentally connected, which was almost impossible. The other possibility was that the same person could comprehend both the time and the void great Taos. This was even more difficult. Therefore, it was almost impossible to set up this formation. It would be impossible for other people to do it. Even a void overlord might not be able to do it. However, it was different for Yang Hanwu. He had comprehended the space Tao and had some understanding of the time Tao. Unfortunately, his current cultivation level wasn't high enough. His comprehension of the time Tao wasn't deep enough. However, once his cultivation level increased, he would be able to do so. This is indeed a formation, a very powerful one. Ordinary people would not be able to set it up. Even a void-level formation master would not be able to set it up. Yang Hanwu looked at Huang Yuan and said, "It can be said that this formation is of little value. No matter how powerful a formation is, it is useless if no one can set it up." Hearing this, Huang Yuan became very nervous. He looked at Yang Hanwu, afraid that he would go back on his words. "However, don't worry. Even if I can't find the location of the divine time talisman, just this formation alone is enough for me to let you go. Even though this formation is difficult to set up, it is still very precious and worth studying." Yang Hanwu smiled. "Therefore, I won't make things difficult for you." Chapter 2349. Thank you for your magnanimity. Huang Yuan heaved a sigh of relief as soon as he heard this. This meant that his life was no longer in danger. Of course, he was very happy. If he heard Yang Hongwu making things difficult for him, it would really give him a headache. If Yang Hongwu really wanted to attack him, then he would have to fight to the death. Even if he knew that there was almost no chance for him to survive, he would still have to let him go. He would have to fight. To be able to survive, this was the best thing for him. Now, he was thinking about how to continue to connect with Yang Hongwu and become his follower. This was dangerous. Yang Hongwu was a person with amazing luck. His future was limitless. However, his future enemy, was extremely terrifying. Therefore, if he really wanted to become his follower, it would be a good thing, but at the same time, it would also be accompanied by a huge crisis. Because Yang Hongwu's enemy was also very terrifying. If I can comprehend the true essence of this formation, then it will be of great help to me. Perhaps I will have to thank you in the future. Yang Hongwu smiled faintly. If one were to rely on this spirit formation to seize the time sacred talisman, it would be practically impossible. This formation might be able to find some clues about the divine talisman of time. This, young master, you must be joking. I did not give you such a formation. With young master's ability, you will be able to achieve this sooner or later. I just gave you a little help in advance and took a little credit. Huang Yuan's attitude was very low. He lowered his head very, very low. Yang Hongwu was a smart person. He certainly knew what Huang Yuan was thinking. In order to win him over and flatter him, Huang Yuan was really unscrupulous. Such a person was a good lackey, but the premise was that you must be strong enough. If you were not strong enough, you would be bitten back. After receiving the information of the formation, Yang Hongwu waved his hand, and the entire little heavenly dragon city changed again. At this moment, Huang Tianhua was battered and exhausted. He was covered in wounds and could not hold on any longer. After all, he was facing the siege of the entire little heavenly dragon city. Although the top experts of the heavenly dragon triad did not make a move, it was not a trivial matter. In little heavenly dragon city, the three major powers would not easily take action. These people, there were too many things to worry about. It was impossible to expose their methods for a mere Huang Tianhua. Therefore, Huang Tianhua was able to hold on for so long. Second brother, save me, save me. At this moment, when he saw Huang Yuan's appearance, Huang Tianhua hurriedly. Kami did not want to die. It would be best if he could live. Third brother, you reap what you sow. Whether or not you can live depends on young noble. If you can beg for young noble's forgiveness, then you might have a chance to live. Huang Yuan looked at Huang Tianhua. He couldn't help but give him a hint. Save me, Prince. Save me, Prince. I was wrong. I am willing to be at your beck and call. Please spare my life. Huang Tianhua was not stupid. When he heard this, he immediately reacted. If Yang Hongwu was willing to speak, he would be able to live. There are still people here. They are in cahoots. Kill them. At this moment, the members of the Heavenly Dragon Triad saw Yang Hongwu and the others. In fact, this was done deliberately by Yang Hongwu. If not, they would not have known that they were besieged. It was just one person. This was what was truly frightening, what was truly terrifying. Beside them, an elder's eyes flashed. He was one of the elders of the Sky Dragon sect, and he was a half-step universe overlord. In fact, if he was a half-step universe overlord, he would be a half-step universe overlord if he was a half-step universe overlord. If he wanted to, he could leave the 1,000 Dragon Divine region and Little Heavenly Dragon City and become a universe overlord. However, there was something in Little Heavenly Dragon City that attracted him. It was his opportunity. In fact, the few elders in Little Heavenly Dragon City had sensed the extraordinariness of Little Heavenly Dragon City. That was why they had hidden in Little Heavenly Dragon City. After Yang Hongwu appeared, these elders had sensed something strange. They had sensed the energy fluctuation of the entire Little Heavenly Dragon City. To them, this was their chance. This was the chance they had been waiting for. The elder of the Heavenly Dragon Triad had been observing Yang Hongwu. At first, he did not know that the person he had been waiting for was Yang Hongwu. However, after Yang Hongwu performed his array, he knew that this was the target he had been waiting for. However, he had not decided what to do. Should he kill this young man and seize his opportunity? Or should he help him and help him achieve something? At this moment, Yang Hongwu smiled. He said, "Today you want to kill me?" As he spoke, his aura rose to its peak. It was as if he was an incomparably imposing overlord of the void, an unrivaled powerhouse. Although he spoke casually, his voice was filled with terrifying majesty. None of the people present could resist this terrifying aura. They were instantly suppressed. This kind of majesty was too terrifying. Even their triad master and elder did not have such a terrifying aura. Thus, at this moment, everyone was intimidated and did not dare to take a step forward. "Why? Didn't you want to kill me? Why aren't you moving now?" Yang Hongwu said. "If you don't attack, then I'll attack." With that, Yang Hongwu took a step forward. Just this one step was enough to raise the pressure to a whole new level. Everyone retreated, and those who were close to Yang Hongwu immediately knelt down under the pressure. They were unable to withstand the pressure of this horrifying power. Run! Finally, one of them was unable to withstand the terrifying pressure. At this moment, the power that Yang Hongwu displayed was a pressure that came from the depths of his mind. It was an attack that came from the depths of his soul. Although these gang members' strength wasn't bad, they were unable to withstand the pressure. Although these people were strong, they could not withstand such a terrifying pressure. Yang Hongwu was a special person. His bloodline, the bloodline of the dragon race, was supreme. Hence, the pressure he exuded was so terrifying. This was a pressure that came from the depths of his soul. Only those with extraordinary strength would be able to unleash such pressure. Only those who were stronger than Yang Hongwu, or those who had a powerful bloodline or incomparable perseverance, could withstand it. Not far away, the elder saw this scene and was shocked again. Bloodline. The bloodline pressure from the depths of one's soul. Dong, dong, dong. Their hearts seemed to be about to jump out. One by one, they could not help but flee frantically. Huang Yuan and the others were stunned when they saw this scene. What kind of ability and means was this? He did not even make a move, but these people were retreating. Chapter 2350. In fact, Huang Yuan could have noticed it as well. However, Yang Hongwu's bloodline pressure was not directed at them, and they were in the formation, so Huang Yuan did not notice it. He only felt that Yang Hongwu's strength was unfathomable and powerful. It was unimaginable that he could make people retreat just by relying on his aura. The ancestor of the Sky Dragon gang, Sky Dragon Wushin, who was hiding in the dark, was shocked. You've been watching for so long. It's time for you to come out. Sky Dragon Wushin thought he had hidden himself well, but in fact, Yang Hongwu had already discovered him. No one could hide from Yang Hongwu's eyes of life, unless Yang Hongwu had not entered Little Sky Dragon City. However, once Yang Hongwu entered Little Sky Dragon City, no matter how powerful the opponent's concealment technique was, there was no way he could avoid Yang Hongwu's eyes of life. Therefore, Yang Hongwu had already discovered this great being from the very beginning. This fellow was very powerful, and he was already standing at the pinnacle of half-step universe overlords. It could be said that if he wanted to, he could definitely become a universe overlord. In fact, the possibility of him succeeding in becoming a universe overlord was very high. I didn't expect that I would underestimate you. Upon hearing Yang Hongwu's words, Sky Dragon Wushin was very surprised. He did not expect that he would be discovered. At first, he was very confident in his concealment technique. As long as he did not reveal his aura, there were very few people in the 1,000 Dragon Divine Domain, or even the entire 13 Divine Domains who could discover him. Even a universe overlord would find it difficult to discover him. However, this young man in front of him, who was only a Dao master, had discovered him so easily. This made him somewhat unable to believe it. However, after thinking about it, this was extremely normal. If not for this fellow would not have been able to become an opportunity for these old antiques like him. He walked out of the dark. He looked at Yang Hongwu and said, "You're very good. You're the most outstanding young genius I've ever seen. Your cultivation level isn't high, but your strength is terrifying and amazing. Even a pinnacle great Dao Knight or an ordinary half-step universe overlord might not be your match. However, you shouldn't be so arrogant now. Before you grow up, a genius is just a genius, not a great being. Do you understand? Do you understand?" Sky Dragon Wushin's tone was that of an elder lecturing a junior. Yang Hongwu could not help but smile. This old man really thought that he could defeat him. He knew very well that this old man should be one of the top great beings in Little Sky Dragon City. There was only one person who could compete with him. "Old man, you're too arrogant." Zi Shintong was displeased by Sky Dragon Wushin's words. "You are merely a half-step universe overlord. You are not even a universe overlord. How dare you be so arrogant? You don't know the immensity of heaven and earth." From Zi Shintong's point of view, even an invincible overlord had no right to speak of Yang Hongwu in such a manner. Besides, this old man was only a half-step universe overlord. No matter how powerful he was, there was a limit to his power. He couldn't possibly be stronger than a universe overlord. And Yang Hongwu was someone who had killed a universe overlord before. How dare this mere half-step universe overlord be so presumptuous and arrogant? After hearing Zi Shintong's words, Sky Dragon Wushin's face turned slightly solemn. He was an old antique, and it could be said that the older he was, the wiser he became. Any living creature, once they reach a certain age, would have seen and experienced many things. Even if they had been pampered for too long and had lost a certain level of judgment, it was still easy for them to remember. They would pick up the things they had lost under certain circumstances. He was not stupid, so after hearing Zi Shintong's words, he became very wary of Yang Hongwu and the others. Although he wanted to look for opportunities, and this young man before him had the opportunity he wanted, he did not dare to act rashly. Originally, he wanted to seize this young man and find the opportunity he was looking for, but now he hesitated. He became very hesitant. "You're hesitating. You want to make a move, but you're hesitating. You're afraid." Yang Hongwu looked at him and said, "Why are you hesitating? What are you afraid of? Didn't you say that a genius is just a genius before he grows up? He's just a genius who hasn't grown up. What do you have to be afraid of?" Being ridiculed made Sky Dragon Wushin very uncomfortable. As an elder of the Sky Dragon Triad and the top master of the Sky Dragon Triad, he was high and mighty. In the entire Sky Dragon City, no one dared to be so presumptuous in front of him. Even the ruler of the Thousand Dragon Divine Domain, the Emperor of Thousand Dragons, had to show him some respect. But now, this puny Dao Master Cultivator dared to ridicule him, which made Sky Dragon Wushin angry. "Boy, you're too presumptuous." Sky Dragon Wushin raised his hand, and a powerful force slapped toward Yang Hongwu. He wanted to test Yang Hongwu's strength with this attack, and see if he was really as strong as he seemed. After all, sometimes what one saw was not the truth. If this boy was not strong enough, then he deserved to die. If he was really strong and had a strong shield behind him, then Sky Dragon Wushin would choose to retreat. However, there were times when things didn't go the way one expected. How would it be possible for him to retreat once he made a move? Seeing Sky Dragon Wushin make his move, Yang Hongwu snorted softly as a beam of light shot out from his eyes, following which a series of light screens appeared in the void and blocked Sky Dragon Wushin's attack. This was the power of the array. Although Yang Hongwu could fend off a half-step universe overlord like Sky Dragon Wushin with his own strength, there was no need for him to do so. It would consume a lot of Yang Hongwu's energy. At this moment, Yang Hongwu did not want to expose too many of his skills. If he could hide them, he would. Since he had already exposed the power of the array, there was no need for him to continue hiding it. Moreover, the array was the key to his plan. This is the power of the array. Seeing that the formation had blocked his attack, Sky Dragon's Soulless narrowed his eyes. His opponent had blocked his attacks so easily, and he couldn't tell when this formation was set up. One should know that he had been here since the beginning. Could it be that this brat had already set up this formation beforehand? No matter what, Sky Dragon Wushin was quite fearful of the power of the formation. That was because he had not been able to determine the strength of the formation with his previous attack. However, he was certain that the formation was extremely powerful. If you like the technique of the Nine Heavens Divine Dragon, please bookmark it. The technique of the Nine Heavens Divine Dragon is popular, right? Chapter 2351. Therefore, Sky Dragon Wushin was very worried at this moment. He was even more afraid of Yang Hongwu now. If he couldn't break this formation, he would be in danger. Therefore, he could only choose to retreat at this time. However, as an old ancestor of Sky Dragon Triad and the #1 expert in Little Sky Dragon City, it would be too embarrassing if he fled from his own base in such a pathetic manner. In the future, even if he managed to survive, there would be no place for him in the deity domain. This formation is very good. However, with your current cultivation, how long can you control it? Sky Dragon Wushin decided to continue probing. If it really didn't work, he would have to cooperate with the other old antiques. In that case, although he would lose quite a bit, and it was even possible that this opportunity might be snatched away by others, he would still be able to obtain it. However, if that really happened, he wouldn't have any other choice. There was nothing he could do about it. This was much better than being beaten to the point where he had to flee with his tail between his legs and not even being able to protect his base. Of course, the prerequisite for this was that he had to test it out first. In other words, he had to confirm that he had no way of breaking this spirit formation. If it was impossible for him to forcibly tear this spirit formation apart, then he would choose to inform the others. He might even choose to hide and be the person behind the scenes. He might even choose to be a fisherman. You can try. If I'm not wrong, you should be the strongest person in Little Sky Dragon City. Of course, this is only in your mind. You're one of the top 3 experts in Little Sky Dragon City and Thousand Dragon Divine Domain. Your strength is indeed not bad. However, in front of me, you're still too weak. You can't even deal with this formation of mine. Yang Hongwu smiled and said, "Do you want to continue? If not, I'll kill you." This was a blatant threat. Sky Dragon Wushin was very unhappy and uncomfortable after hearing this. As the old ancestor of Little Sky Dragon City, when had he ever been threatened like this? Wanting to beat him to death was simply arrogant words. At this moment, Sky Dragon Wushin was very angry and annoyed. He stared at Yang Hongwu and was about to attack. As an old ancestor, he absolutely couldn't tolerate such humiliation. If he couldn't teach Lin Fan a lesson, he would really lose all his face. Therefore, Sky Dragon Wushan couldn't take it anymore. In an instant, his aura exploded and a terrifying power burst out. His original appearance was that of an old man who looked very spirited and thin. After he exploded, he turned from an old man to a burly man. A burly man with explosive power. He threw a punch at Yang Hongwu's direction. This punch contained the terrifying power of the law. The overbearing power of the law formed a ferocious dragon. As if it wanted to swallow Yang Hongwu. However, Yang Hongwu, who was standing in front, didn't seem to be worried at all. He didn't care at all. Even though Sky Dragon Wushan was coming at him menacingly, Yang Hongwu didn't seem to care at all. It was as if he didn't care about Sky Dragon Wushan's attack at all. It was as if this was just an ordinary attack. The more indifferent he was, the angrier Sky Dragon Wushan was. The angrier he was, the more annoyed he was. Die for me. At this moment, Sky Dragon Wushan's anger had reached its peak. In his mind, this attack was enough to destroy heaven and earth. This mere formation should be able to be torn apart by him. This arrogant and despotic brat in front of him should die in his hands. He had to cut Lin Fan into pieces to vent his anger. Too weak. Yang Hongwu laughed loudly. This seemingly overbearing attack landed in front of Yang Hongwu and destroyed Yang Hongwu's silhouette. However, Yang Hongwu's voice still echoed from all directions. I've been toyed with. This was truly a joke. His overbearing attack didn't hit Yang Hongwu. It was just a silhouette. This made Sky Dragon Wushan even angrier. However, he was still a little happy. His strength was still strong enough. Lin Fan didn't dare to continue using the formation to block his powerful attack. Perhaps this formation wouldn't be able to block his attack. This brat's cultivation was still weak after all. As long as he could break this formation, he wouldn't need to fear this brat anymore. Did you think that my formation wouldn't be able to block your attack? Is that why I purposely used this silhouette to confuse you? Did you think that I don't have any other means to deal with you? That I'm not strong enough to fight against you? If that's the case, then you're too naive. How can my formation be so simple? As soon as Yang Hongwu's voice trailed off, rays of light shot up into the sky. The next moment, Sky Dragon Wushan was shrouded in the rays of light. These rays of light formed chains and trapped Sky Dragon Wushan within them. These were the shackles formed by the formation, forming a prison. This prison was sealed. Damn it, it's not that easy to trap me. I, Sky Dragon Wushan, am the strongest in Little Sky Dragon City. How can a mere formation trap me? I'm invincible. No one can trap me, not even a universe overlord. Sky Dragon Wushan roared crazily. He didn't restrain his strength and attacked crazily with his fists. Everyone could only hear bang, 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 as the prison shook. However, the prison didn't seem to show any signs of being broken. This was terrifying. This was Sky Dragon Wushan, an old ancestor of Little Sky Dragon City. This old ancestor's strength was really terrifying. Huang Yuan knew very well that this old ancestor's strength was something that even the Thousand Dragons Emperor was quite wary of. However, this powerful old ancestor didn't even have the strength to fight back in front of Yang Hongwu. This showed how powerful Yang Hongwu was and how terrifying his means were. However, this didn't seem to be his true strength. This was just the tip of the iceberg. What they saw wasn't Yang Hongwu's full strength at all. He seemed to have only revealed a little of his strength. However, this was enough to make them extremely wary. Even Huang Yuan didn't have any intention to resist. Chapter 2352. It's impossible for you to break this prison unless you become a universe overlord. Of course, you can also use the power of the origin of Little Sky Dragon City. If you're the city master of Little Sky Dragon City, you might be able to break this prison array by mobilizing the power of Little Sky Dragon City. Otherwise, you'll die in this array today. It's a pity. I'll wait for you to break this prison array. Yang Hongwu looked at Sky Dragon Wushan, who was trapped in the prison. Yang Hongwu felt that this guy had a mysterious power, which seemed to be his greatest reliance. Of course, Yang Hongwu wasn't afraid, even though he had become a universe overlord. He didn't care either. In this god domain, no one was able to unleash a power that exceeded that of a half-step universe overlord. Once they unleashed a power that exceeded this limit, they would be punished by the origin of the god domain. As a result, their strength would increase tremendously. Restricted, they might even be punished by the gods, which was something they couldn't bear. Of course, unless their power reached a level where they could ignore the god's punishment and the restriction of the laws of god domain. In that case, it didn't matter. When one's power reached the pinnacle and had absolute power, nothing else mattered. Of course, for Sky Dragon Wushan, his cultivation and power were far from that level. Yang Hongwu looked at him. The mysterious power in his body would be exposed in such a desperate situation. This power didn't seem to belong to this god domain. It was incompatible with this god domain. Yang Hongwu felt it. He was very sensitive to the power of the origin. Of course, this power was hidden too well. How could the origin of this god domain not discover it? This was what Yang Hongwu found strange. The laws of Thousand Dragon God domain should have discovered the existence of this power. A universe overlord? Sky Dragon Wushan narrowed his eyes. The power of this prison was beyond his imagination. If what Yang Hongwu said was true, then he had to use his trump card. He was very clear about his own situation. Once he used his trump card, he would have to leave the god domain. After hiding in the divine realm for so many years and scheming for so long, he was unwilling to leave in such a sorry state. However, if he didn't use his trump card now, he would die. Of course, he wasn't willing to die. Lad, you're the one who forced me to do this. Today you must die. With that, Sky Dragon Wushan's entire being began to change. A strange power erupted from his body, and he turned into an abyss devil snake. So this is the power of the abyss. These memories appeared in Yang Hongwu's mind. He said, so what if it's the power of the abyss? This power was indeed very powerful. It was also hidden very deeply. Why did it enter the deity domain? You know about the power of the abyss? The abyssal demon, Snake's ghostly blue eyes stared at Yang Hongwu. When its strength erupted, it could already feel the suppression of the divine realm's laws. If this continued, it would face a terrifying strength. Therefore, it had to kill this person who had ruined all of its plans in the shortest amount of time possible. He had been hiding in the deity domain for so many years and became an old ancestor in the little Sky Dragon City. Everything was for the sake of his plan. But now, everything he had done was destroyed. How could he not be angry? So what if you should know how terrifying the abyssal race is. Today, you've ruined my plan, ruined the plan of the abyssal race. Therefore, you must die. No matter what, you must die here. You must die. You must die here. All of you must die here. Sky Dragon Wushan shouted loudly. As he spoke, he frantically bombarded the array formation prison set up by Yang Hongwu. This array formation prison seemed to be on the verge of collapse under Sky Dragon Wushan's frenzied attacks. It seemed like it would be torn apart soon. The prison seemed like it could be broken at any time, but it still didn't break apart. Yang Hongwu stood outside the array formation, smiling at Sky Dragon Wushan. I forgot to tell you. So what if you are from the Abyss clan? Because you are from the Abyss clan, your full strength is suppressed by the laws of the Thousand Dragon Divine Domain. On the other hand, my array formation has been strengthened by the laws of the law. It will be very difficult for you to break the array formation now. Therefore, you are dead meat. Yang Hongwu hadn't expected Sky Dragon Wushan to be from the Abyss clan. After he unleashed his full strength, the laws of the Thousand Dragon Divine Domain directly strengthened his array formation. It could be said that what he was doing now was the support of the Thousand Dragon Divine Domain. The support of the will. The support of the will of a deity domain. Although he wasn't the master of the Thousand Dragon Divine Domain, he was able to gain the support of the will of a deity domain. How could Sky Dragon Wushan be a match for him? At this moment, Yang Hongwu was the master of the Thousand Dragon Divine Domain. It could be said that he was the son of fortune. Therefore, compared to Sky Dragon Wuxin, he was an invincible existence. Even if Sky Dragon Wuxin rose to the level of an invincible overlord, he wouldn't be able to do anything to Yang Hongwu. Right now, Sky Dragon Wuxin was already a dead man. In fact, Sky Dragon Wuxin had never imagined that things would turn out this way. This was something he hadn't foreseen at all. Damn it. This damned will of a deity domain. This damned origin source of the 1,000-dragon divine domain. It won't be that easy to kill me. Sky Dragon Wuxin roared angrily and began to transform. His body, as an abyss devil snake, grew larger and more ferocious. He burned his own origin source and was about to go all out. I can die, but you won't have it easy either. So what if it's the will of a deity domain? Even if it's the will of the 1,000-dragon divine domain, I will still destroy it. Sky Dragon Wuxin wanted to perish together with Yi Shiwen. However, Yang Hongwu didn't care at all. He wasn't worried about Sky Dragon Wuxin at all. He knew that Sky Dragon Wuxin wouldn't be able to hurt him even if he self-destructed. Therefore, Yang Hongwu wasn't worried at all. Rumble, rumble. A series of terrifying explosions rang out. This time, the formation prison that Yang Hongwu had set up was torn apart. At this moment, Sky Dragon Wuxin's strength had reached a terrifying level. The entire deity domain was shocked by Sky Dragon Wuxin's strength, especially the Emperor of 1,000 Dragons. This was his 1,000-dragon divine domain. Such a terrifying existence, and such tyrannical strength. What was worse was that he could sense that the will of the 1,000-dragon divine domain had appeared and was supporting an outsider instead of him, the master of the 1,000-dragon divine domain. If you want to chat about the 9 Heavens Divine Dragon technique with more like-minded people, follow Excellent Reading Literature on WeChat. Chat about life. Find a soulmate that you're tuning in to the Warrior Lore YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.